Chapter 49:35 The old man stomped his foot, and the entire altar burst into pieces. At the moment when the altar shattered, the old man's expression changed greatly, and he almost instinctively rushed towards the sky. Boom! Thousands of explosions gathered together, forming a loud bang, and the entire city of demon vanquishing instantly turned into nothingness. Puff! The old man spurted out a mouthful of blood, and countless fragments of divine weapons pierced his body, and 2 heavenly veins circulated around him, showing his terrifying strength. Unfortunately, no matter how high his cultivation base was, Mo Nyen had calculated him. Before his body protection divine radiance could be activated, he was pierced by countless fragments. Although these injuries were not fatal to him, there was a rotten death aura attached to the fragments, and the flesh and blood began to fester, exuding a stench. The old man didn't have time to heal his wounds, his consciousness quickly dissipated, and suddenly he let out a shocking roar. It turned out that the powerhouses who came with him were all killed. Not only the bones but also the primordial spirit could not escape. Thousands of heavenly sacred divine weapons exploded, and the power was unimaginable. Fortunately, the old man had 2 heavenly vein dragon chi. If there was only one, this blow might not kill him, but it would definitely injure him. Little beast, you wait for the old man. The old man never thought that with this kick, he directly kicked all his subordinates to death. The feeling of being so useless made him almost vomit blood. Suddenly, the old man roared, pierced the sky with a palm, the void collapsed, and a figure emerged from the void. Boom! With a loud bang, the 2 palms collided, the dragon energy surged, and the sky was vertical and horizontal. Do the people in the fire temple have such a hot temper? If you take action, you will die? The figure on the opposite side shouted coldly. The void stopped distorting, and the figure gradually became clear. It was a man wearing a gray robe and a golden mask on his face. He sounded a little old, but looking at his body shape, he was unusually tall and straight, and the power of chi and blood was full of energy. General burst. Chess master? When the old man from the fire temple saw the mask of the old man on the opposite side, his pupils shrank slightly, and then his face turned cold. The chess sect has shrunk for hundreds of millions of years. It seems that its wings are hard. They dare to trouble me in the fire temple. Today I will let the old man weigh it. The chess sect has a few pounds and a few tails. Dare to be so arrogant. The old man from the fire temple gave a cold cry and was about to take action, but the chess master said, "Are you mad? I came here to catch the murderer of my beloved disciple, not to do this kind of meaningless thing with you." Murderer? The old man in the fire temple looked at the strong Qi Zong master, and the anger on his face gradually subsided. Only at this time did he realize that he had wronged someone. "How long have they been gone?" asked the chess master. The old man of the fire temple asked back, "How did you know he was here?" Although he had seen the Qi Zong logo on the mask, he was still skeptical. "I didn't know they were here at all. I came here to arrest and punish Wujiang's family," the strong Qi Zong said. Hearing what the chess master said, the old man of the fire temple said, "They just teleported away." However, as for the devastated scene, he didn't explain it, and this thing couldn't be explained. It was too embarrassing. The chess master pretended not to see the surrounding scene and asked directly, "Do you know the general direction of their transmission?" "These 2 little beasts are cunning and tight. After the teleportation is activated, all the fluctuations in the surrounding space are disturbed, and it is impossible to calculate," the old man of the fire temple said patiently. He was embarrassed to say that it was because he detonated Mo Nyen's trap, causing the space to be chaotic and unable to find traces. These 2 little beasts are really abominable. If the old man catches them, they will be smashed to ashes, cramped and skinned, the strong Qi Zong said fiercely, and he did not forget to comfort the other party after he finished speaking. "This friend of the fire temple, you don't have to be too angry. They were able to escape today, but they were lucky, and they will definitely not have the same luck next time." "Thank you." The other party persuaded him well, and the old man of the fire god temple nodded. After all, the other party was on the same level as him. Even if he came from the fire god temple, He didn't dare to be too big. After all, the other party came from the most mysterious chess sect of the four ancient sections. The four ancient sects, Qin, chess, calligraphy, and painting, and the other three have their disciples who travel the world, especially the Qin sect, whose disciples have footprints almost all over the world. Shuzong and Huazong are relatively low-key, but they can still be seen occasionally in the rivers and lakes. But Qizong is different. There are very few rumors about them in the rivers and lakes, and there may even be no news of them for millions of years, making people mistakenly think that this inheritance has been cut off. But in fact, the background of the four ancient sects is extremely amazing. Even the Brahma Pill Valley is not willing to be their enemies. Even if the disciples have conflicts with them, they usually punish their own disciples, and they rarely find trouble with the other party. And the four ancient sects and the Brahma Pill Valley well water did not violate the river water, so after countless years, there was no conflict. Among the four ancient sects, the most mysterious sect is the chess sect. It is rumored that there are not many disciples, but each of them is the elite of the elite, the master of the master. And Qizong is notorious for protecting his shortcomings. Once the apprentice has an accident, the master will personally come out and settle it. Moreover, Qizong's actions are ruthless and heartless, and he will kill everyone at every turn. Offend them. It's just that the chess masters have not appeared in the rivers and lakes for too many years, and there are too many people wearing masks in the rivers and lakes, and people have almost forgotten the chess masters. Only the powerhouses of the older generation can know their identities from the unique lines on their masks, and even Long Chen and Mo Nian could not recognize each other's identities from the masks. Therefore, after the anger came down, the strong man of the fire temple became more polite. I heard that the heavenly fire demon realm in Brahma Pill Valley is about to open? The chess master asked tentatively. Hearing the question from the strong chess sect, the old man of the fire temple nodded and said, about half a year later, what? Is your sect interested in participating? The chess master smiled and said, what you said, the heavenly fire demon realm in Brahma Pill Valley is the four most immortal holy places in the Emperor Heaven. There, the immortal robbery can absorb the power of the heavenly veins, sow the seeds of the heavenly veins, and lay the foundation for the impact of the imperial road. With such an opportunity, why would our chess master not be interested? It's just that our chess master has not walked in the world for many years, and we have never visited the Brahma Pill Valley, so I don't know. Having said that, the Qizong powerhouse deliberately lengthened his voice and tentatively looked at the Fire God Temple powerhouse. The Fire God Temple powerhouse said indifferently, our Brahma Pill Valley's heavenly fire demon realm does not prohibit believers outside the gods. You can come. I know, but we hope. The chess master said. The strong man of the fire temple frowned and said coldly, do you want your chess sect disciples to follow the Brahma road and the bridge of heaven and night? I advise you to die as soon as possible. Chapter 49:36. It turns out that the heavenly fire demon domain is a holy place controlled by Brahma Pill Valley. It is rumored that this is the place where the heavenly fire was born at the beginning of the 9 heavens and 10 earths. It is rumored that all the heavenly fires between the heavens and the earth are bred here and eventually go to the 9 heavens and 10 earths, also known as the heavenly fire mother's womb. This is a holy land. During the Chaos War, it was occupied by monsters from outside the realm. Although it was finally recaptured by Brahma Pill Valley, it has been tainted by monsters. Among the holy places, there is a sea of sky fire, which originally had the most holy energy, which could help people perceive the power of the sky. The power of Tianmai, that is the only way for advanced emperors, and no one can get around it. It can be said that this is an extremely heaven-defying ability. When people advance to the immortal realm here, they can wash away the power of the heavenly veins here and lay a solid foundation for the advanced emperor in the future. Even if you can't advance to the emperor in the future, as long as you can condense a dragon energy of the sky, it is enough to sweep the heavenly saint. Xing Wujiang is close to half of the heavenly vessel, so he can stand alone in the heavenly sage. It can be seen that there is a huge difference between the heavenly vessel and the heavenly vessel. However, the holy land of the past has been defiled by the blood of demons. During the War of Chaos, countless terrifying monsters were buried in the Sea of Fire. Although they have already died because they were buried in the sky fire, their bodies were destroyed, and their spirits were permanently banned by the Sea of Skyfire. Therefore, in the Sea of Skyfire, there is endless resentment and will of monsters. If you absorb the power of the heavenly veins here, it will be absorbed together with the resentment and will left by the monsters, and it is very easy to fall into the devil. However, in the Sea of Skyfire, there are two roads leading directly to the core of the Sea of Skyfire. One is called the Brahma Road, and the other is called the Bridge of Heaven and Night. According to rumors, this is a shortcut that the Brahma and Luotianai left for their believers. With their power protection, their believers can go straight to the core area without being disturbed by external demons, and absorb the power of the heavenly veins to their heart's content. But in fact, there are discrepancies in the rumors. Even the existence of Brahma and Luotianai cannot completely eliminate the demon soul and resentment in the Sea of Fire. If it is forcibly eliminated, then the Sea of Skyfire will also be destroyed together. However, with the blessing of their power, the purity of the power of the sky vein is much higher. Although there is also the risk of enchantment, it is more risky than normal absorption. Reduced 100-fold. However, these two paths are reserved for the Brahma and Luotianai believers, and outsiders are not qualified to use them. Brahma Pill Valley opened the heavenly fire demon realm to the outside world, and he also had his own intentions, that is, to attract more believers through these two paths. There are countless strong people who have become their believers just because of the Brahma Road and the Bridge of Heaven and Night. This trick is still very effective. Therefore, the chess masters wanted to let their disciples take the Brahma Road and the Bridge of Heaven and Night, but they were rejected on the spot by the masters of the Fire Temple. In the face of the cold and arrogant tone of the strong man in the Fire Temple, the strong chess master was not angry, as if he had expected the other party to say this. He said lightly, "Chess Master and Brahma Pill Valley have been in the water for countless years, and although there is no festival, they have no friendship. Our chess master has self-knowledge, and we also know that we don't have such a big face. We brought this matter up today to see if there is room for negotiation." There is no room for negotiation, because in my memory, this is an iron law that no one can break. The strong man of the Fire Temple said decisively. The words can't be said so absolutely. What if we show enough sincerity? Said the strong chess master. No, sincerity is useless. It's not that I look down on you, or that I deliberately make things difficult for you. There is no room for negotiation, and I don't have the ability to help you. The powerhouse of the Fire Temple said so much. Obviously some lost patience and were ready to leave. What about this thing? Is this sincerity useful? The chess sect master was talking, and raised a piece of things in his hand. When he saw that thing, the pupils of the Fire Temple master shrank suddenly. This is... The Fire Temple powerhouse was shocked for a moment. Looking at the expression of the strong man in the Fire Temple, although the strong chess master is wearing a mask, he can see a smug look in his eyes. In the hands of the chess masters is a milky white ancient jade fragment, only the size of a peanut, without any runes on it. It is so great that anyone in front of it seems so insignificant. He opened his mouth and said, "The Emperor Jade Fragment, after endless years, has not lost the Emperor Chi in it. As for who the owner of this fragment is, I shouldn't need to tell me, right? Although this thing is precious to us, it has no practical use, but for Brahma God Venerable, he." When the chess sect master said this, he smiled and said no more, while the master of the Fire Temple stared at the ancient jade in the hands of the chess master, and his eyes were a little red. If it weren't for the strong enough chess sect master, he would even have the intention of killing people, because this thing is too important to the Brahma Pill Valley. The powerhouse of the Fire Temple took a deep breath and tried to calm down as much as possible. Your Excellency is indeed a generous person, and he has offered hard-to-reject conditions. But this matter, I need to report to the Pill Valley. To change the rules of the Skyfire Demon Domain, I am afraid that the Valley Master will decide it personally, but whether it is successful or not, I dare not say. In addition, tell me the specific conditions, so I can go back and report." The strong chess sect nodded and said, "My chess sect has always been simple and clear in doing things. It only needs Brahma Pill Valley to agree to my chess sect's 3,000 disciples to enter the Brahma Road and advance to immortality in the core area of the Sea of Fire. Our chess sect is willing to put this Imperial Jade Fragment is presented with both hands. Call. After that, the strong chess sect threw the Emperor Jade Fragment directly to the strong man in the Fire Temple. The powerhouse of the Fire Temple was stunned for a moment. When he touched the Emperor Jade Fragment, he realized that it was a replica, not the real Emperor Jade Fragment, but it had been placed with the Emperor Jade Fragment for a long time, and it was stained with a trace of Emperor Jade. Just gas. The strong chess masters handed this imitation to him, indicating that they have real Emperor Jade Fragments in their hands. With this imitation, it will be more convincing and tempting. Okay, he'll go back and report. The Fire Temple powerhouse nodded. This time he screwed up the matter. He was supposed to save people, but instead of saving people, they joined a group. Now, the chance that a strong player in the chess sect would come to his door gave him the opportunity to turn his merits away. After the powerhouse of the Fire Temple left, the powerhouse of Qizong also disappeared. Tianhua Demon Realm? Brahma Road? Bridge of Heaven and Night? Emperor Jade Fragment? In a remote place, Long Chen held Amethyst Tiantong in his hand and watched every move here. Long Chen and Mo Nian looked at each other, and at the same time their eyes lit up. There's something to be done. Hey, race a chance for revenge. P.S. I would like to recommend to you the new book, Swire Immortal, by my good brother Feng Qingyang. The protagonist of this book is decisive in killing, never suffocating, burning, and refreshing. Go and search for Feng Qingyang or Swire Immortal to see. It is already online in all channels. Every book site can be found. Chapter 49:37 Long Chen and the others were transported to a savage force. Long Chen asked Mo Nian to provide a general orientation and immediately opened the Amethyst Tiantong to look in the direction of Demon City. Because of the time difference, they didn't see the scene where the powerful people in the Fire Temple stepped on the altar, and naturally they didn't see the tragic situation where the powerful people were blown to death. However, Long Chen and the others saw the Fumo City after being bombed into nothingness through the Amethyst Tiantong. Seeing that the old man was bombed so badly, all the people who followed him disappeared. At that time, Mo Nian shouted excitedly when he saw this scene, although he knew that the probability of success was extremely high, but he succeeded in defeating the opponent with a trick, and the sense of achievement could not be expressed in words. Afterwards, they saw the appearance of the strong chess sect and the dialogue with the strong man of the Fire Temple. Although they could only see the picture and could not hear the sound, they could roughly know what they were talking about from the mouth shape of the other party. I don't know why, when Long Chen saw the piece of Emperor Jade, a bitterness came to his heart, and the Emperor Jade seemed to carry his countless memories. However, this feeling soon disappeared. When they left, Long Chen and Mo Nian rolled their eyes, and both of them had smiles on their faces. Seeing Long Chen and Mo Nian smiling at each other, Patriarch Yuluo suddenly felt a chill down his spine, and the two guys laughed a little scarily. Half a year we have to work harder. I respect the fifth heaven, and you are only the third. Are you okay? Mo Nian said worriedly. During this period of time, Long Chen has hardly practiced, and it has been a long time since he entered the third heaven, because Chen Kuan-Ding did not let him continue to eat pills, and Chen Kuan-Ding did not say why. I have no problem, after all I can improve by eating pills, but you, no problem? Long Chen asked. It was mainly during this time that I discovered several treasures of feng shui, which delayed my practice. Another reason is that I have never encountered any enemies, and I am not in a hurry to improve, so the speed has slowed down. Damn, I regretted it when I faced off against the Deputy Hall Master of the Fire God Temple. Every time I improved a small realm, the strength I could endure would be stronger. If I have the cultivation level of the God Reverence Jizangshan, maybe I don't need you at all, I can handle that guy by myself, the two sisters Ziqiong. Hey! Mo Nian sighed with a look of annoyance on his face. What he wants to say is that if he can have the cultivation level of Jizangshan and can fight the Deputy Hall Master of the Fire Temple alone, then Long Chen will have the opportunity to save them. Unfortunately, there are not so many ifs in this world. Mo Nien, who was full of regrets, made up his mind at this time, and he must accelerate his strength. As for those feng shui treasures, he was going to put them aside first. Treasures are important, but strength is more important. Without absolute strength, no matter how strong the treasure is, it cannot be controlled. The arrow of the imperial path is the most typical example. I'm going to practice archery with Patriarch Yulua for a period of time, and then start retreating to improve his cultivation, and strive to break through to the great consummation of the gods as soon as possible. When that time comes, let's break into the heavenly fire demon realm together and kill him to turn the world upside down. Mo Nien clenched his fist. What are your plans? Mo Nien looked at Long Chen. Long Chen just wanted to say that he was going to return to Lingshao Academy. After all, Lingshao Academy had just gained a firm foothold. He was a little uneasy and wanted to go back and have a look. You need to go to Tianhuang. At this time, Chen Kuanding said. Go to Long's house? Long Chen stayed. Tianhuanglong family has what you need. Chen Kuanding said. Since Chen Kuanding said so, Long Chen had to tell Mo Nien that he was going to Tianhuang Long's house. Tianhuanglong family? Your family? Mo Nien was stunned for a moment, and then he thought of something, a little surprised. It should be, my father has already been there, and I plan to go to see it. I really want to know, what is there in Tianhuanglong's family that is worthy of his nostalgia? Long Chen said. It's a family with an amazing background, but the more amazing the background, the weaker the emotion. With your character, you go there. I don't think you will get anything good. Mo Nien said. I didn't plan to get any benefits from the Long family, but why did my father choose to return to the Long family? I still can't understand, and my father never said it, so I plan to find the answer myself. Long Chen said. Well then, don't delay your cultivation and miss the heavenly fire demon realm, otherwise don't blame me for taking the limelight alone. Mo Nien said. Don't worry, we will definitely not delay the matter. When the time comes, let's settle accounts with Brahma Pill Valley. Long Chen said with a smile. It is good. Mo Nien and Long Chen patted each other on the shoulders. Long Chen and Yulua Patriarch said goodbye. Yulua Patriarch's pretty face was full of reluctance, told Long Chen to be more careful, and informed Long Chen Yuling of the new habitat land, and if you have any difficulties, come to them at any time. Long Chen then waved goodbye to Mo Nien, Patriarch Yulua and others, and flew all the way. After flying for several hours, Long Chen's speed gradually slowed down. At this time, Long Chen's strength has only recovered about 30%. It is not suitable to run with all his strength for a long time. Long Chen found a place to recover, and he has some things that need to be confirmed with Chen Kuanding. Senior, what exactly do I need from the Tianhuang Long family? Long Chen asked. Tianhuang is located on the west bank of the Devil's Sea. At the junction of the land and the Devil's Sea, there is a conflict between the Devil's energy and the Fairy's energy, which breeds some rare and exotic herbs. Many of them are needed by Niechong Dan. If you are lucky, you can collect all the precious medicines required by Niechong Dan in the wild. Chen Kuanding said. Real? As soon as he heard that he could collect all the medicinal pills from Chi Niechong Dan, Long Chen jumped up with excitement. He has stayed in the 7-star battle body for too long, and he is extremely eager to open the 8-star battle body. According to past experience, the power of the 8-star battle body is at least 100 times that of the 7-star battle body. If the 8-star battle body can be condensed, what is the Deputy Hall Master of the Fire Temple? Isn't he slapped to death? It should be almost the same. Even if the collection is not complete, there are still a few plants. Therefore, you have to go to Tianhuang. As for whether to go to the Long family, it depends on your mood. Chen Kuanding said. It knows that Long Chen is extremely disgusted with the Long family, or, in other words, he has a natural rejection of the arrogance of the high-level clan, which is a disgust from the bones. Long Chen hates the idea that they can sacrifice all blood and kinship for the sake of profit. He hates them for cultivating so-called geniuses like cultivating goo, and he hates their unattainable and invincible face. When he heard that he could not go to Long's house, Long Chen was overjoyed, and the whole person became more relaxed. Long Chen summoned Huolinger to protect himself. After 3 days, Long Chen's strength recovered 70% to 80%. Long Chen was hurt too badly. The power of Tianmai has serious destructive power to the body, such as cold poison, which is difficult to remove. Long Chen estimates that it will take at least 10 days to fully recover. However, at this time, Long Chen has recovered 70% to 80% of his strength, and he can fully protect himself. The spirited Long Chen once again embarked on the journey, and the goal is Tianhuang. Chapter 49:38 Tianhuang. It is easy to think of another word, called land old, which is usually used to describe the steadfastness and durability of love, which can withstand the grinding of years. However, the heavenly desolation of Emperor Heaven, known as the Heavenly Desolation Domain, is not a desolate world. It is surrounded by the sea on 3 sides, and there is only one direction to enter and exit. The sea it adjoins is not an ordinary sea, but a magic sea. It is rumored that the magic seas within 9 days are all connected. When the barriers of the world disappear, you can travel all over the 9 days and 10 places along the magic sea, provided that you can beat the terrifying sea monsters and sea monsters in the deep sea, but so far, no one has been able to sail unscrupulously in the magic sea. Long Chen does not know how many times he has sailed on the Sea of Magic, but almost every time he sails, he will encounter great danger. Although he can survive every time, but facing the boundless Sea of Magic, even Long Chen will feel frightened. Because no one knows what is hidden under this endless sea, it seems that there will be a big mouth covering the sky to swallow you at any time. Just like the sea whale that Long Chen encountered at the beginning, it is as big as a world. If it is swallowed by it, I am afraid that even an emperor-level powerhouse will turn into whale dung. Long Chen dared to cross the magic sea in other places, but here, Long Chen chose to detour a little and enter through the entrance. Tianhuang is not a barren land, but there are many people who come here. There are practitioners of all levels, some are riding cars, some are riding flying pets, and some are walking barefoot. When Long Chen came to the border of the wilderness, it was already half a month later. The road can be said to be very far away. In the middle, there are several areas where monsters are rampant. Even Long Chen has to be careful, for fear of being disturbed. Terrifying monsters. You must know that there are several places where Long Chen sensed the fluctuations that made his hair stand upright. The fluctuation Long Chen is very certain, it must be the existence of the Deputy Hall Master of the Fire Temple, and Long Chen must not be able to provoke it. Although it took some time, I can get here in half a month, and everything is planned. In fact, Long Chen can save at least half the time by looking for a nearby city and teleporting, but Long Chen can't do that. He and Mo Nian killed the Deputy Hall Master of the Fire God Temple. Such a big thing will definitely make the Fire God Temple angry, and they will definitely inform the eyeliners of the major cities. Long Chen is not afraid of them, but to deal with their delays. In addition, he came to Tianhuang for the sake of Niechong Dan. At the border of the wilderness, the continuous mountains tower into the clouds, but there is a huge gap in the middle, which is a natural gateway. People who come and go will basically choose to enter and exit from here. Because climbing the mountains, you will encounter terrifying astral winds, and speeding at that height will consume a lot of physical strength, so no one does that. The most important thing is that this portal is free to enter and exit, no one charges, and no one checks the identity. At the entrance, although there are many people on duty, they are on duty at the teleportation array there. If you want to quickly enter the first city of the border gate of Tianwanjiu, you can pay for teleportation, which can save half a day. Of course, there is no need to ride the teleportation array, nor force it. This teleportation array is for those who want to save time. Moreover, those who come to the heavenly desolate domain for the first time usually choose to walk in. Because in Emperor Heaven, many areas have their laws different from the outside world because of their unique location. If you go in on foot, you can let your body slowly adapt to the rules here. Otherwise, if you enter rashly, some people are sensitive and will cause strong discomfort. When Long Chen dressed in black and walked slowly into the wilderness, his body shook slightly, and the colorful supreme blood in his body became extremely active in an instant. It seems that Tianwanjiu does hide some secrets. It's not without reason that Dad came here. Long Chen felt the active colorful blood in his body and couldn't help muttering to himself. The seven-colored supreme blood fluctuated, which meant that his entanglement with the Long family could not be separated. After all, his bloodline came from the Long family. But for some reason, Long Chen was extremely disgusted with this kind of origin. He even longed for his father to be an ordinary person and not to have any relationship with this kind of family. Hey, little brother, is this the first time you've come to the heavenly desolate territory? Are you here to marry or take an adventure? As soon as Long Chen appeared, someone surrounded him. Long Chen didn't pay attention to that person. This kind of person, 8 out of 10, are all liars. Seeing Long Chen alone and looking young, he thought that Long Chen was a rookie. If Long Chen showed confusion or nervousness, they will immediately dig a trap, and there will be no shorts left that will eventually be deceived, and even their lives will be caught. There are too many such things, and liars are extremely hateful. However, they are also an important part of the law of the jungle. The growth history of ordinary people is the history of being deceived. Long Chen remembered that Mo Nian said a very classic sentence, which seems to be said in Tianwu continent. The so-called inexperience means that we can't deceive people, and we are not enough to roam in the arena. Liars are hateful, but those who are deceived, once they grow up, will kill those who deceive them as soon as possible. Brother, I see that you have a good talent and excellent roots. I have a channel here to send you into the Long family. If you perform well, you may have the opportunity to become an outer disciple of the Long family. Another person ran over with a face. Warm and authentic. This person is wearing a white robe and the collar and cuffs are painted with a dragon-shaped pattern, which is a unique symbol of the Long family disciple, and the clothing is exactly the same as the Long family disciple standing in front of the teleportation array. But Long Chen only glanced at it and saw that this guy was a fake. The clothes on his clothes were not dragons, but Jialongs. Originally, Long Chen didn't intend to take care of this person, but he said, if you perform well, you may have the opportunity to become the outer disciple of the Long family. Long Chen couldn't help but be amused. To what extent must Lao Tzu degenerate to work hard to become an outer disciple of the Long family? This is just a big joke. Seeing Long Chen smiling, the man thought that there was a show, and immediately flickered harder, and even covered his mouth with his hand and laughed. Brother, we have an internal relationship with the Long family. Have you seen the disciples around the teleportation formation over there? You sent them in? Long Chen couldn't help asking. Of course, but 3 of them were sent in by me, and the rest were not. They broke in by their own strength. Brother, I see that you have a good talent, and your cultivation base is all right. The conditions do not meet the requirements of an entry-level disciple. However, we can help you operate through a relationship. What do you think? The man had a serious face. Long Chen pouted, and the next step is to test his family background. From his words, he found a suitable price and hollowed out Long Chen. That person is the cultivation base of the 5th layer of the gods, but the aura fluctuations are so weak that they are not even as good as the powerhouses of the 5th layer of the Realm King. At first glance, they have overdrawn the future and forcibly improved the realm with some inferior medicine pills. In other words, this realm is the ceiling of his life, and there will never be any progress in this life. No wonder he would do this kind of thing. Just as Long Chen was about to speak, suddenly, several disciples of the Long family came over and surrounded Long Chen and the man. Chapter 49:39 5 Long family disciples surrounded them. One of them looked bad. The man was so frightened that he was about to run away, but was grabbed by the Long family disciple and stretched out his hand with a big mouth. Snapped. The disciple of the Long family was not light, and the man was slapped to the point that the corners of his mouth were split open, and blood was flowing. He clearly saw the slap in the face, but he didn't dare to resist, and he didn't dare to evade, so he took it so hard. Damn, how many times have you said it? If you want to lie, just lie. Don't point at us. Next time you talk to us, you will tear your mouth to pieces. Kick that person away. The man was slapped and kicked, But he didn't dare to say a word all his life, so he ran away like that. Boy, you just debuted, right? Listen to my brother's advice. There is no such thing as a pie in the world. This group of lonely ghosts are all liars, but they also have a backstage and I can't do anything to them. This year, the Dragon Family God Venerable Foreign Sect Disciple Assessment has ended. Besides, even if it is not over, the first entry standard for foreign surnames is the cultivation level of 5th layer or above. The man said to Long Chen. Long Chen was a little surprised. This person has a sense of justice. In this filthy world, this sense of justice is quite rare. Seeing that Long Chen didn't speak, the man looked at Long Chen up and down and said, looking at your temperament, it should be from the experience, I advise you to go back and find an elder to accompany you. To be honest, noble sons like you usually rely on the protection of their parents, thinking that if they have some ability, they can walk around the rivers and lakes. I don't know how much I die here. Life is precious and you should cherish it. Long Chen nodded and said, there is nothing wrong with what you said, thank you very much. After Long Chen finished speaking, with a wave of his hand, a pill flew towards the man, who was stunned and grabbed instinctively. What do you mean? For me? Damn, who do you look down on? I need your reward. The man took it and saw that it was an elixir, and he couldn't help but be furious. Grip the grass, look carefully. A strong man next to him exclaimed, because when the person caught the pill, he accidentally pinched the outer skin of the pill, revealing the inside. This is the best God Zun pill. The man opened his mouth wide in shock. When he looked at Long Chen again, Long Chen had already walked into the depths of the heavenly desolate territory, leaving only a vague back. Good guy, who is this person? As soon as he makes a move, he is the best God Zun Dan. All the disciples of the Long family were stunned. They were not qualified to eat this level of medicinal pills, but they threw one to him. It's interesting, a disciple of the teleportation formation is even divided into several factions. It seems that the internal structure of the Long family is very complicated. Long Chen had a strange smile on his face. The reason why he slowly entered from the main entrance was to see the performance of the disciples of the Long family. The so-called knowledge of the microscopic works. From some details, we can infer the general situation inside the Long family. Long Chen needs to understand these. However, Long Chen did not expect that a small teleportation formation guarding disciples would be divided into 3 camps, and these 3 camps, Long Chen was separated from their attitudes. Among these disciples, some are enthusiastic, some are lazy, and some are hostile. And those who helped Long Chen get out of the siege were full of anger in their eyes. They did not help Long Chen out of good intentions, but deliberately beat that person to show other disciples. And the moment that person was beaten, Long Chen saw the group of enthusiastic people, and his face changed suddenly. Obviously, the liar who fooled Long Chen should be with them. Therefore, they are all open one eye and close the other. To put it bluntly, if these people succeed in cheating, their benefits will definitely be indispensable. Therefore, if he is beaten, it is tantamount to hitting them in the face. And the group of lazy people who are typically messing around, do nothing, don't care about anything, and the people who help Long Chen to come forward are obviously the opposite of the group of enthusiastic people. I don't know if it's because of the uneven distribution of the teleportation array, or because the offering of the swindlers is not their turn. In short, they look unhappy. Just such a small teleportation array, there is no oil or water at all, and the internal relationship is so complicated. This is a microcosm of the overall interior of the Long family. From a small perspective, you can know what the internal situation of the Long family is like. Long Chen moved forward all the way, his pace was neither fast nor slow. Some people were surpassed by him, and some people surpassed him. Long Chen carefully felt the changes in heaven here. Long Chen found that the laws of the heavenly Tao in the heavenly desolate territory contain vast demonic and demonic auras. The laws here are a bit more violent than the outside world. Cultivation in this environment makes it easy for people to develop irritable tempers. The more Long Chen moved forward, the more active the 7-color supreme blood in his body, as if a dry tree had finally been nourished by the rain and began to change its life. Could it be that the 7 colors supreme blood is the blood of the violent? Long Chen was a little puzzled, and the 7 colors supreme blood seemed to like this kind of environment very much. "Hey little brother, please stay." Long Chen bowed his head and walked forward, silently feeling the changes in the blood of the colorful supreme. Suddenly a voice came, and a figure quickly chased from behind. Long Chen was stunned, and suddenly he found that the pedestrians around him had disappeared, and a cold smile appeared on the corner of Long Chen's mouth, and he stopped. "Little brother, I have something important to tell you." The figure came galloping, panting, and seemed to be in a hurry. The most important thing was that he was wearing the clothes of the Long family. When he ran to Long Chen, he suddenly had a dagger in his hand and stabbed at Long Chen. The smile on his face also turned into a hideous one. "A single pill can arouse your murderous intentions. It seems that you are not doing well? Is it really worth losing your life for a pill?" Long Chen said indifferently. Long Chen dodged gently to avoid the man's blow, but at this moment, the 2 figures behind him shot silently, and the 2 long swords fell like lightning. Puff, what? With a scream, the sharp swords of the 2 slashed the strong man holding the dagger into 4 pieces, and the blood spattered, and the man gasped. The 2 powerhouses were also wearing the costumes of the disciples of the Long family. When they saw their companions beheaded by their own hands, they were all stunned. They were clearly beheading Long Chen, so why were they beheading their companions? "Not bad. If this is successful, you will be able to share a little less. Don't panic, you are doing well." Long Chen looked at the panicked 2 and comforted. "Die." The 2 were furious, and the 2 long swords slashed at Long Chen at the same time. Click click. The 2 long swords were broken by the big hand, and the broken swords slashed their throats with precision. Chapter 49-40. Puff puff. The 2 heads rose into the sky, and the corpse fell down so slowly. What's this all about? Are all robbers so unprofessional these days? Dare to come out in robbery? Long Chen shook his head and threw the broken sword in his hand. "You are the worst robbers I have ever seen in my life." Long Chen shook his head and continued to move forward slowly. "If you want strength without strength, if you want means without means, and if you want to cooperate without cooperation, this is purely a joke with life." Long Chen really doesn't understand what they think. As soon as Long Chen left, a group of strong men in black appeared immediately, but under their black clothes, there was a faint white corner. The funniest thing is that some of them didn't button their clothes properly because they were dressed in a hurry, and even the dragon-shaped logo leaked out. "What's the situation? Why did you die so quickly?" Someone exclaimed. "It seems that we have encountered hard stubble and quickly clean up." A person seemed to be their leader, and with an order, quickly cleaned up the battlefield and disappeared quickly. Everything behind it, as long as Long Chen opens his consciousness, he can see it clearly, but Long Chen is too lazy to look at it. At first glance, this group of people looked like people living at the bottom of the heavenly desolate territory. They were not strong and had average talent. Their goals are random, and they are not intended to target Long Chen. Since they are not intended to target, Long Chen does not need to take them to heart. However, after going through this assassination, Long Chen couldn't help feeling emotional. No matter the level of strength, no matter which level of the cultivation world, the essence of cultivation is the same. The essence of this is struggle, which is the same whether it is in the immortal world or the mortal world. The common people compete for food, the rich and businessmen compete for profits, the bureaucrats compete for power, the emperors compete for territory, and they compete for beauty. People envy the gods, but they don't know that the so-called gods in their eyes are more barbaric, more greedy, more cruel, and even more painful to live. But this is the nature of the world. No one can be alone. Some people say that no struggle is king. But if you don't fight, others will take everything from you. Can you just watch the loss of everything, including your life and lover, and remain indifferent? The answer is no, at least Long Chen can't, so he has to fight. His ambition is not big, he just wants to live with dignity and freedom. However, this simple wish, in this filthy world, is a kind of extravagance that is almost impossible to realize. Long Chen continued to move forward, and after a while, someone started flying past him. Obviously, someone assassinated him before, and someone there temporarily blocked the road, which made Long Chen speechless for a while. It's blatant. What is the chaos of the Long family? The road quickly became smooth, and Long Chen did not encounter obstacles again. As he walked along the way, Long Chen heard someone muttering, saying that the road ahead was normal. Why should he stop them? Long Chen rolled his eyes immediately. The feelings of these guys are all blatant to this point, and there is no one else. Long Chen found that most of the people who took this road were people in shabby clothes, and even the weapons on their bodies were broken. His clothes were plain enough, and they were very inconspicuous. There is a feeling of light luxury in the clothes. After walking for half a day, a city appeared in front of me. The city was not big but not too small. The city had no walls, only a square moat. Character. There are many buildings in the city, but they are uneven. In many places, the soil is exposed and the grass is overgrown, giving people a very desolate and decadent feeling. After inquiring, Long Chen learned that this is the mercenary city, not the location of the outer teleportation array. It is a mercenary city, and those experts only call it a mercenary station. This mercenary city is a gathering place for those poor and scattered cultivators. Here, the scattered cultivators gather together to keep warm, take some tasks, earn some low fees, and barely maintain the consumption of their cultivation. Cultivation is like rowing a boat against the current. If you don't advance, you will retreat, and once your realm falls, it will be even more difficult if you want to rise up again. Therefore, no one dares to let their realm decline. Otherwise, the cultivation of a lifetime will stop there. Seeing the busy crowd in front of them, their clothes were ragged, and their eyes were full of alertness to the whole world. When he saw a young man and woman, arm in arm, walking past, at that moment, Long Chen looked at their backs, dumbfounded. Dumbly stunned. He suddenly thought of the scene when he was in the Fengming Empire. At that time, he was at a low point in his life. Looking at the world, no one could help him. But at that time, a woman boldly expressed her love to him, entrusted her life to him, and was willing to live and die with him. The dragon travels thousands of miles across the 4 seas, and the phoenix leaves the Wutong with the Kyushu. Life and death do not abandon the blood and sea, and the dragon and the phoenix depend on each other until the white head. Long Chen couldn't help chanting the poem they collaborated on. At that time, she was young and he was young and frivolous. At that time, they did not know the cruelty of the world, but they bravely made a lifelong vow. Maybe a little naive, maybe a little stupid, but they dared to express the most real thoughts in their hearts. Dragon not only swam across the 4 seas, but also swam for 9 days. Feng left the phoenix tree, but drifted without support. This is all my incompetence. Are you okay now? Long Chen thought of Chu Yao at this time. The scene was endless. His thoughts flooded into his heart, and he felt sorry for Chu Yao and all his confidants. At the same time, he also hates himself. He usually claims to be invincible at the same level. The youngest dean in the history of Lingxiao Academy, but he can't even realize the simple wish of staying with the person he loves. He is a failure. Little brother, why are you crying? Are you okay? At this moment, a timid voice came, a woman appeared in front of Long Chen, and the couple who had passed by him came back. The woman carefully handed Long Chen a jinpa. The jinpa was worn out, but the pulp was clean. If you don't dislike it, the woman said. It was only at this time that Long Chen realized that he had already burst into tears and felt a little embarrassed. He didn't take the woman's handkerchief, wiped his face with his hand, and squeezed out a smile. Thank you, I suddenly feel a little uncomfortable in my eyes. It's okay, thank you too. The man looked dark and honest, but he was a 4-star destiny man, and his cultivation base reached the 6th level of divine respect, and his strength looked very good. He said with concern, Little brother, have you encountered any difficulties? If you encounter them, you can tell us. If we can help, we will help you. Long Chen shook his head and was about to say goodbye to them and leave when suddenly a group of people rushed over from a distance. Chapter 49-41. What are you doing? Just wait for the two of you, hurry up and go. There were more than a dozen people in a group of people, and the leader was a tall man with a giant double axe on his back. He just appeared and urged impatiently. But when he saw Long Chen, he couldn't help but look at the couple and asked, "This is? He should be a novice who just came here to experience. I saw him crying here alone, and I thought he was so pitiful. Captain, why don't we bring him, or he will be hacked here?" The woman said, "Hacking is a local dialect here, which means being tricked into a team, acting as a scapegoat in the most dangerous tasks, and many mercenary teams will look for such rookies without any experience." A man crying here? How pitiful! Hearing the woman's words, Long Chen instantly became petrified. If it spreads out, he doesn't know if he can survive in this world. At first glance, it is the second generation of the rich, the son, the eyes are high and the hands are low, and the middle is not useful. The big man with the axe on his back looked at Long Chen up and down, and shook his head. "Captain." The woman was still trying. "Forget it. Forget it, take it with you, boy, but let's talk about it first. You can follow us, but there is no reward, you can learn some survival experience at most. In addition, our team has its own way of cooperating. You don't need to do anything, just follow it honestly, and don't shoot indiscriminately, otherwise, it may bring us fatal disasters. Therefore, if you are dishonest on the way for the safety of the team, I will kill you first." Speaking of later, the strong man known as the captain had a serious face. As he said, "They are mercenaries, and they do the hardest and most dangerous work, no different from licking blood with a knife, and teamwork is often the strongest means of saving lives. Bringing a person is nothing in itself, but if this person drags down the teamwork, it may lead to the destruction of the group, which is the most dangerous and the most taboo. Therefore, he wants to talk about the ugly to the front. If Long Chen maliciously makes trouble, in order to protect the team, he will kill Long Chen as soon as possible. Don't worry, this little brother is so honest, he will definitely not cause trouble for us, I can be responsible for watching him." The woman seemed to be afraid of scaring Long Chen, and hurriedly said. At this time, Long Chen was still in a petrified state, his mouth was open, and he was still thinking about the phrase, "crying alone, so pitiful," and everyone thought he was frightened by the captain's words. Seemingly satisfied with Long Chen's awe-inspiring appearance, the captain nodded, and then led the crowd into a dilapidated wine shop. It seemed that the wine shop was their own property. After finding a secluded private room and sitting down, the captain looked at Long Chen. "Road. Introduce myself, my name is Fong Liuda. I'm the captain of this mercenary team, you can call me Brother Lu. Since we promised you to join the team, we will treat you as a teammate, and the tasks we receive will also be shared with you, but one thing, you must remember that the tasks of mercenaries are top secret and cannot be disclosed to others, even if the task done, it can't be revealed." Long Chen nodded, expressing his understanding. Originally, this was a misunderstanding and Long Chen wanted to leave directly, but the couple seemed to recognize him as crying alone, it's pitiful, and had to take him with him for a while. I don't know how to refuse. Now that he heard the mercenary quest, Long Chen suddenly became curious. He had also been in contact with mercenaries before, but he did not know how these mercenaries received the quest and how to complete the quest. "Little brother, what's your name?" The woman asked Long Chen, who just nodded and didn't speak. Dragon Dust, Long Chen didn't hide it, and directly reported his real name. "Your surname is Long?" The people around were stunned. "Aren't you a member of the dragon family?" Someone said in surprise, "All people with the surname of Long in Tianhuang are all branches of the dragon family. How is that possible? If he is from the Long family, why would he appear in the mercenary city?" The woman smiled. "My name is Yuang, it seems that you are younger than me, you can call me Sister Ing, this is my husband Wu Song, you can call him Brother Song." Yuang wanted to continue the introduction, but was interrupted by Fong Lud. He said, "There is time to introduce on the way, let's talk about this mission first." After Fong Liuda finished speaking, he directly took out a piece of parchment on which a map was drawn, and there was also a picture book of the precious medicine. When he saw the picture book of the precious medicine, Long Chen was slightly surprised. "Aoshue Korina." When Long Chen said the name, Fong Lud was taken aback. You actually know this precious medicine? Long Chen nodded and said, I know a little bit. Of course Long Chen knew that this Aoshue Jinsho chrysanthemum was also a precious medicine for refining Nyechong Dan, and he searched for it for a long time, but there was no news. Unexpectedly, he just came to Tianhuang and saw it. It seems that Qin Kuan Ding didn't lie to him at all. In Tianhuang, he might really be able to collect all the precious medicines of Qi Nyechong Dan. Although he was a little surprised that Long Chen recognized Aoshue Jinsixia, Feng Liuda didn't care too much. After all, he was a disciple of a better family and knew some rare medicines, so there was nothing to be surprised about. Feng Liuda said, Our mission this time is this Aoshue golden stalk chrysanthemum. The location has been determined, but it is guarded by a heavenly saint-level monster. We need to implement the 9th plan. Do you have any questions? No objection, no objection, no objection. Seeing that everyone made a statement, Long Chen wanted to follow suit but was stopped by Yueying with a smile. He didn't even know what the 9th plan was. This statement made no sense at all, not to mention that he was not a member of the team, not qualified to express. Since there is no objection, let's go. Feng Lud stood up directly. With him as the head, everyone took out a suitcase, took out the things in the suitcase, and counted them one by one. When Long Chen saw the word 9 written on their luggage, he immediately understood that each of their plans was a team effort, and each of them needed to prepare their own things. Their faces are serious and meticulous. After all, it is related to the lives of all of them, and they can't be sloppy at all. Long Chen found that among this group of people, there are long-range attacks, close combat, 2 wood-type powerhouses, a water-type powerhouse, and an array mage. They are grouped together and can attack and retreat. Can be kept. However, just based on what they prepared this time, it seems that they are not going to fight because Long Chen saw the pill, although he did not hold it in his hand, but Long Chen could see at a glance that it was a laxative, and it's still a strong type, the kind that will fly straight once you eat it. Soon after everyone finished getting dressed, they immediately walked out of the wine shop. As a result, they just walked out of the wine shop and pointed a sharp weapon at them. Chapter 49-42 Long Chen followed the crowd. As soon as he went out, he was surrounded by a group of people. The other party had already shown his weapons, as if he was about to shoot. Long Chen glanced at the people on the opposite side. There were more than 40 people in total. The number of people seemed to be quite large, but their strength was average. If they really fought, this group of people would not be opponents at all. Feng Liuda was furious, and just about to have a seizure. The first person on the opposite side immediately smiled and said, Oh, isn't this brother 6? I'm really sorry, I've recognized the wrong person, so I didn't hurry up and put away my weapons. With the person's order, the group of people immediately put away their weapons, and Long Chen immediately understood that they didn't admit the wrong person at all, or came to deliberately look for trouble. March, what do you mean? Feng Lud said angrily. I've said it all, you've admitted the wrong person, 6th brother, you should be busy. The man smiled and made a gesture of invitation. If you have the ability to pick things up but you don't have the ability, you will be beaten to death sooner or later. A strong man with a longbow behind Feng Liuda sneered. Hee, the so-called 30 years of Hudong, 30 years of Heshi, even if I am a villain, willing to be a dog for others, how can you bear me? The man smiled, not angry at all. I can't tell, you really have the potential to be a dog. A woman beside Long Chen said, there are only 2 women in the entire team, one is Yueying and the other is her. I can't tell, that's because you see the dog is low. As soon as the woman's voice fell, Long Chen couldn't help but say. As a result, Long Chen's interface, the entire team laughed, and Long Chen's words were too perfect. What are you? The man was furious when he saw that Long Chen was a raw face. I want to say that I am your father, but since you look like this, let's forget it. I can't let you take advantage of me. Long Chen shook his head. Long Chen always spoke expressionlessly without the slightest anger, but what he said was both irritating and funny. Originally, Feng Liuda and others were provoked, and they were so angry that they couldn't laugh with a few words from Long Chen, and most of their anger disappeared. The man was furious. Get out. Fong Luda's face suddenly sank and he said coldly, don't give you 3 points of face and want to open a dyeing workshop. If I really kill you, people may not stand up for you. If you want to die, just squeak. This guy used to have some festivals with them, and then he joined a powerful mercenary group and started to do things constantly, trying to provoke a war between the two mercenary groups and avenge himself by the hands of others. Chapter 49-43 Fong Luda's face changed greatly, and he hurriedly urged the demon bird to escape. Call, the chariot whizzed past them just like that. If you dodge slowly, you will be hit by the chariot. Everyone was shocked and angry, but they were helpless. Long Chen didn't feel it at all. If it really hit, Long Chen would blow it up with a punch. Disciples of the Long family, it's really abominable. Even though they saw us, they still wanted to bump into us and deliberately make us embarrassed. Yueying's face was full of anger. No way, reincarnation is a technical job, it's just that we don't have a good technology. Everyone scolds the disciples of the Long family for being arrogant and domineering, and everyone resents them, not because they are arrogant, but for why they are not disciples of the Long family. Fong Luda sighed. Arrogance is not hateful. The hateful thing is that arrogant people are not themselves. This is the idea in most people's minds. If there is a chance, everyone wants to be as arrogant as them. Don't be angry. Poor people must be hateful. On the contrary, hateful people must be pitiful. Long Chen smiled. How do you say this? The strong man with a long bow on his back walked closer to Long Chen, scratched his head, and said with a puzzled expression. For a while, Long Chen really didn't know how to explain it. Long Chen wanted to say that this kind of person looked crazy, but he was actually bullied. Because of being bullied by stronger people, the depression in my heart has nowhere to vent, but only to the weak. But if Long Chen explained it like this, it would be very distressing, because these mercenaries seem to be at the bottom of the food chain, and they have to bear everything. But in the end, I still have to explain, otherwise everyone will think that he thinks everyone is stupid. Long Chen smiled. What I mean is, the strong are more powerful, the wicked have their own grind, and he is arrogant, and there will always be someone who is more arrogant than him. It's a matter of time before you hit a nail. If you hit the iron plate with bad luck, you will have to be reincarnated again. I don't believe that their luck is so good every time they are reincarnated. Long Chen's explanation made everyone laugh. They usually do tasks or practice, and they don't communicate much with others. It is the first time they have met a person like Long Chen who is articulate and humorous. A few words, let them in a good mood. Fortunately, they went in a different direction from us, otherwise we would have to give up this mission. In short, we were lucky this time. Fong Luda smiled. Long Chen, can I ask you a few words? If it's inconvenient for you, of course you can refuse to answer, it doesn't matter. Yueying hesitated several times, but finally couldn't help but speak. Seeing Brother Song holding Yueying's hand, Long Chen clenched his hand and laughed immediately. This Brother Song is interesting. Obviously he knew what Yueying was going to ask and wanted to stop it, but couldn't. It doesn't matter, just ask. Long Chen smiled. Are you a disciple of an aristocratic family? Yueying looked at Long Chen and asked. The others also listened carefully. They wanted to know that someone with thin skin and tender meat like Long Chen must have an unusual origin, but it was inconvenient to inquire. At this time, Yueying couldn't help asking, and they were also hooked. Got curious. Forget it, how do you say it? I have never gotten a single benefit from what I call an aristocratic family. Long Chen said honestly, the Tianhuang Long family must be considered an aristocratic family, and it has been passed down from generation to generation for too long. Did you get kicked out by them? Or did you escape by yourself? Or, do you want to prove yourself through trials? Yueying asked continuously. Because in their eyes, people with superior conditions like Long Chen are angry with the family, or get kicked out, or have never been recognized, and want to find a place to prove themselves. After all, a sentence that often hangs in the mouths of many seniors and big clansmen is, With your virtue, you can't survive even 3 days outside. This sentence is very hurtful, and as a result, countless people, just to prove that they can live for 3 days, then ran out to take risks. As a result, most people did not even survive the first day. When Yuang and his wife saw Long Chen for the first time, they believed that Long Chen was the son who had left home with anger. When they got here, they discovered the cruelty of the world, and they were helpless and hesitant, so they had preconceived ideas. Long Chen shook his head and said, "No, I just..." Boom! At this moment, the void in front of him oscillated, a loud noise shook the sky, a shadowy figure appeared, and a huge divine bird flew by. Although it was still far away from them, the terrifying coercion struck, and the demon beast under their seat was frightened, and was so frightened that it rushed straight into the forest below, trying to find a place to hide. Fong Liuda controlled it several times before he could barely appease the monster bird, and everyone was startled, and had long forgotten to ask Long Chen's question. "It's not far from the destination. In order to avoid exposure, let's just walk here," Fong Lud said. Everyone nodded. The divine bird was too terrifying just now. Fortunately, it was far away. If they were found close, they would be finished. In front of it, they could not escape. A divine bird of the heavenly saint level, Long Chen would not take it to heart at all, but for Fong Liuda and others, it was a deadly thing, and they would not dare to fight with a divine bird of the heavenly saint level. Everyone continued to move forward, and soon the sound of the tide appeared in front of them, and after walking for a while, they came to a high mountain, and Long Chen saw the dark sea. The sea of magic, the sea of demons. Long Chen has dealt with it many times, but every time I look at its ink-like color, I have a shuddering feeling, as if under the black sea, there are a pair of eyes staring silently. Follow him. At the same time, Long Chen remembered that when he was in the advanced stage, the blood of his body was taken away by the sea of demons. At that time, Long Chen wanted to take it back, but he was stopped by the strong dragons, and he deliberately let him and the sea of demons be contaminated with karma. Now, I don't know why. The sea of demons here is different from the sea of demons in other places. The sea of demons that Long Chen encountered is basically calm, with almost no waves, like a pool of stagnant water, and it looks terrifying. But the sea of devils here is a giant wolf that slams into the sky crazily. The black sea water is full of black air, and the air is full of evil. As soon as he arrived at the seaside, Long Chen found a few spirit medicines, but Fong Lud and others turned a blind eye to them. It seems that this kind of spirit medicine is not worth much here, but this spirit medicine is more precious outside the Emperor Heaven. But Long Chen's chaotic space already has it, so there is no picking. However, seeing them, Long Chen was shocked. It seems that there are countless precious medicines here. This time it is the right time. Everyone stopped here for a short time, and after a little trimming, they approached a depression. Just as everyone approached the depression, a low roar shook everyone's eardrums. Chapter 49-44. The low roar was very close to everyone, which shocked everyone. According to Fong Luda News, there are no other monsters nearby. Is the information wrong? That can kill. Shao Qi, give everyone a hidden breath. Go and take a look. Long Chen, don't be nervous. Follow Song Gear and his wife. Fong Lud gave the order, and did not forget to take care of Long Chen. Long Chen wanted to laugh, he was so nervous, but after spending so much time with everyone, they could trust him so much, which is extremely rare among those struggling at the bottom. Because they live at the bottom, their lives are extremely difficult and dangerous. They not only have to face the oppression of the strong, but also the competition from the strong of the same level. After all, this is related to survival. At this level, kindness is the least valuable things. But these people who can trust him to take care of him so quickly shows that these people are kind people, and they will always attract each other and eventually come together. This is what people often say. After everyone put a hidden breath talisman on them, Long Chen found that the rune masters in the team were not bad, although they were definitely not comparable to Xia Chen, but the technique was very subtle. However, the paper for the talisman was relatively cheap, and the talisman was drawn. The pens and ink used are of inferior quality, which affects the quality of the talismans. Everyone sandwiched Long Chen in the middle of the team, on the one hand to prevent him from making some undeserved mistakes, and on the other hand to protect his safety. The crowd moved forward cautiously and climbed over a bare stone mountain. Under the cover of the color of the stone, they quietly stuck their heads out. When they saw the scene ahead, there was ecstasy in the eyes of everyone. There was a huge sea snake entrenched there, and beside it, there were giant eggs bigger than a house. Hexagonal sea serpent. Looking at the sea snake, Long Chen couldn't help but be slightly surprised that he saw this ancient relic once again. When Long Chen was in the mortal world, he had dealt with it, but it was only a low-level creature left in the mortal world, and his blood was no longer pure. But this hexagonal sea snake has dark golden hexagons on the top of its head, and the scales on its body are pitch black and glowing with metallic luster. On each scale, there are 6 dark golden runes. This is a powerful heavenly saint-level sea monster, and every scale of it can be used as a shield, which is comparable to the immortal soldiers, and even better than the shields in the hands of the 2 warriors in the team. If it is extravagant, the skin of this hexagonal sea snake is peeled off to make leather armor, and the inscription is forged into a leather armor, then the defense power is absolutely amazing. The skin and bone of a hexagonal sea snake can be used to forge 2 inferior sacred weapons. As for its hexagons, flesh, and internal organs, they are almost priceless treasures. At that moment, Fong Leota and others' eyes were red. Long Chen, even their hearts could be heard pounding. Oh my God, if we kill him, we won't have to take on missions for at least 30 years. Yuang looked at the hexagonal sea snake, covering her mouth, her eyes full of excitement. Fong Leota took a deep breath and said with a serious face, "Calm down, this is a hexagonal sea snake. The strength of the ancient relic is very powerful, although spawning will make it weak, but it is still not something we can deal with, for a while. Implement Plan 3. Only stealing its eggs?" Yuang looked disappointed, and everyone else also had unwillingness in their eyes. After all, it is a hexagonal sea snake. Although his eggs are also very precious, artificial incubation of such eggs requires too many resources, and it takes several years to wait. With their abilities, they cannot be raised at all. Moreover, compared with the corpse of the hexagonal sea snake, the value of these snake eggs is not so attractive, so everyone can't help but be full of disappointment. But Fong Leota is the captain, they must listen to the captain at any time. After listening to Fong Leota's decision, Long Chen couldn't help but praised in his heart. He had underestimated this rough-faced guy before, but he never thought that he could still protect his calmness and weigh the interests in the face of such a huge temptation. Anyway, Long Chen can't do this. As long as he likes the treasure, he must take it, even if he is risking his life. Although everyone was disappointed, they all knew that if he could win it safely, Fong Leota would definitely not give up, and he would definitely be reluctant. He made this decision because he was afraid of causing huge casualties to everyone because of greed. The biggest responsibility of the captain is to lead everyone to complete the tasks safely and always put the safety of the team first. Otherwise, no matter how strong a person is, he is not qualified without strong organizational skills, insight, and risk assessment skills. Be the captain. Moreover, as a captain, if a team member dies, it is the greatest shame in his life. Many times, the captain would rather die than let his teammates die. This is why the unity of many mercenary teams is so amazing. Long Chen looked at them, and suddenly he remembered the Mushue mercenary group, that heroic and valiant woman. However, the Mushue mercenary group is actually more like an adventure group, exploring together and capturing treasures together, and they are not as stressed as Fong Leota and others in front of them. One is in the immortal world, and the other is in the mortal world, and is also a mercenary. The immortal world is even worse. I don't know what those people in the mortal world who think about being immortals all day know what they will think behind this scene. Seeing that the crowd began to spread out and prepare for action, Long Chen suddenly said, "After the hexagonal sea snake belongs to the flood dragon, it has a fatal weakness. After spawning, there will be several breathing stun times, and at that time, the stored power of its inner alchemy and hexagonal power will be lost to the whole body. At this time, the scales on its body will flicker 7 times in a row, and after 7 times, it will instantly recover 80% of its strength. During the blinking period, it is the weakest time. Although it only has a short half-breathing time, if you master it, you can easily kill it. Real or fake? Everyone was surprised and happy. They looked at Fong Liuda together, and Fong Liuda's eyes were full of shock, because he knew what Long Chen said in the previous part, but the scales flashed 7 times, but he was the first. Heard once. But what Long Chen said before is right, and it will definitely not be nonsense in the back, not to mention that Long Chen has no reason to lie to them. Are you sure? Fong Liuda said solemnly. Very sure. Long Chen nodded. In that case, let's fight? Fong Liuda was not calm, he looked at everyone. The crowd gritted their teeth. Fight. All right, plan number 1, get ready. Fong Liuda said. The crowd immediately dispersed and began to take their places. They cooperated skillfully, the layout was precise, and they occupied favorable terrain when they were very open. At this time, they couldn't care about Long Chen, and they all stared at the hexagonal sea snake. After the hexagonal sea snake laid 3 more giant eggs, it suddenly shook for a while, its breath became unstable, and then its body glowed and flashed rapidly. Hands on, Fong Liuda shouted and rushed out first. Chapter 49-45, Boom! Fong Liuda propped up the vision. The giant axe in his hand glowed, and he chopped off his head, with a violent whistling sound that shook the valley. When the hexagonal sea snake was laying eggs, its body was weak and its perception was reduced. When Fong Liuda appeared, it discovered that the big mouth opened, and suddenly the void trembled, and a huge vortex appeared in its mouth. The whirlpool turned and devoured the void. Fong Liuda suddenly felt a terrifying suction hit. He suddenly turned around and ran away. Emotional Fong Liuda blow is just a false move, mainly used to attract the attention of the hexagonal sea snake and facilitate others' actions. Boom! There was a loud noise, and I don't know who it was, throwing out a package. It exploded near the mouth of the hexagonal sea snake, and the gray-white powder flew. As soon as the powder appeared, it was swallowed by the vortex and sent into the mouth of the hexagonal sea snake. The hexagonal sea snake suddenly let out a strange cry like a bull, shaking its head frantically. Boom! At this moment, a warhammer slammed on its head with a loud bang, smashing its head down sharply. However, at this time, a scene that surprised Long Chen appeared. I saw the strong man carrying the bow and arrow, and the bow was standing under the tail of the hexagonal sea snake. There was its excretion port, and an arrow was shot out. Boom! Then a muffled sound came, and Long Chen saw that the tail of the hexagonal sea snake slammed into a circle, and then blood splashed out. The hexagonal sea snake was in unbearable pain, and suddenly rose into the sky. Boom, boom, boom. At this moment, 8 chains trapped it firmly and were held by 8 strong men. They stood on the ground, and the whole person and the ground were integrated. The 8 people actually possessed the power of the earth. Trembling, but the chain firmly locked the hexagonal sea snake. With Dor, seeing that the hexagonal sea snake was really locked, everyone was overjoyed, although they believed that Long Chen would not lie to them, but after all, it was a heavenly holy sea monster, and it was also a very famous hexagonal sea snake. They had no heart at all. In fact, all their attacks were temptations. In fact, they didn't expect 8 people to lock the hexagonal sea snake. They needed to see the strength when it broke the chain before deciding whether to go or stay. Today, the hexagonal sea snake can't break free of even 8 chains, which means that it is really in a state of extreme weakness. Quick attack, Fong Liuda shouted, seeing the divine brilliance on the hexagonal sea snake flashing once more. This is the inner disciple of the Long family. The badge on the chest of the first person represents his noble identity. In the Long family, those who can become inner disciples are either the direct descendants of the Long family or the foreign powerhouses with extraordinary talent. The head of the person, the cultivation base, has reached the 9 level of gods, and he is also an 8-star destiny person with a powerful breath and amazing coercion. Senior brother Huang Hui, look, the news of the younger brother is correct. the man with the pointed mouth and monkey cheeks said with a flattering expression. With that appearance, he wanted to lie down and kiss that person's shoes at any time. If he had a tail, he would definitely follow suit. The same as the car. The man named Huang Hui had already seen the corpse of the hexagonal sea snake being decomposed. His eyes were full of greed, and he didn't pay any attention to the guy with the sharp-mouthed monkey cheeks. He shouted loudly, "You guys are so bold, you killed our marked prey, why don't you hand them over soon?" Chapter 49-46. What did you mark? Do you dare to be more shameless? Yueying was trembling with anger and couldn't help cursing. When I said I made a mark, I just made a mark. So many people present can testify for me. After Huang Hui finished speaking, he said to the people around him, "Did you see it?" "Saw." The people around shouted in unison, and the man with the sharp-mouthed monkey's cheeks shouted especially loudly. "Who?" Although they were accustomed to the shamelessness and greed of human nature, everyone was still so angry that their lungs would explode. "Bastard, there is no such bully, Captain. We fought with them. Killing one is enough, killing two to earn one." A big man with a warhammer came out of the team and gritted his teeth. "Fighting? What do you fight for? Haha, is it just a bunch of rubbish you raised with inferior medicine pills?" Huang Hui laughed, mocking and disdain on his face. Suddenly his smile disappeared, and he said coldly, "Stop talking nonsense. You stole and killed the prey I marked. If you don't hand over all the proceeds, you will be killed without mercy. Fight!" The crowd was furious, because they risked their lives to get it, and it made them extremely uncomfortable to let them hand it over like this, which was worse than killing them. For a time, everyone looked at Fong Liuda. As long as he gave an order, they would fight to the death with this group of people. Even if they died in battle, they would have to pull some backs. In the face of their anger, Huang Hu's face was full of sneers, and the disciples of the Long family who followed him looked down at them, as if looking down at a group of ants. As for the guy with the sharp-mouthed monkey cheeks, and the group of people he brought, they were gloating over their misfortunes. What they couldn't get, no one else could have imagined. Seeing Fong Liuda and others raging, they couldn't tell how excited they were. Disciples of the Long family are well paid and have countless opportunities to obtain resources. Do you have to fight with our group of people who are so poor that they can only fight for their lives? Fong Liuda gritted his teeth and said with grief and indignation, "The Emperor Zhantian clearly said, 'Don't squeeze the living space of us poor people. Aren't you afraid that the Emperor Zhantian will settle accounts with you?'" As he spoke, Fong Lud made a gesture to the crowd, which was their team's code, meaning asking them to hand over the proceeds. At that moment, everyone trembled, and Yueying couldn't hold back her tears. But they also know that there is only one way to die, and none of them can leave alive. The captain ordered them, and they had to obey, even if their hearts were full of anger and grievances. Zhantian Holy Emperor. "Che, what nonsense, Holy Emperor, that was sealed by your group of ants. He just rushed to the position of the 4 heavenly saints, and then he got out. Who knows if he can come back alive?" Huang Hui sneered. Originally, everyone had planned to hand over the treasure, but when they heard Huang Hu's words, the expressions of everyone in the entire team changed. At that moment, murderous intent surged in their eyes. Fong Liuda said gloomily, "You can rob us and trample on our dignity, but you must not insult the great Emperor of War. Cut, he'll be humiliated, so what?" Huang Hui said with a smile. "Then we will never die." Fong Liuda roared, stepped on the void, rushed towards Huang Hui for the first time, and slashed down with 2 battle axes. Huang Hui didn't seem to think that Fong Lud really dared to do it. When he reacted, Fong Lud had already bullied him and hurriedly waved his arm to block. Boom! With a loud noise, Fong Liuda slashed Huang Hu's arm with a pair of giant axes. While the sleeves were flying, people saw that Huang Hui was wearing a silver arm guard on his arm. No wonder he dared to block with his arm. Huang Hu's strength is much higher than Fong Liuda, and his basic skills are extremely solid, but he was not prepared at all. He was shocked by Fong Liuda's blow, and he took a few steps back. "A bunch of damn ants, kill me all." Boom, boom, boom. As a result, Before his words were finished, the other powerhouses in the team had already roared, attacking from all directions, front, back, left, right, and even cold arrows and talismans from all angles. Huang Hui roared, and the momentum of the 8-star Destiny Man burst out, condensing the Destiny armor immediately, and at the same time summoning a shield, desperately blocking. As a result, after a round of attack, Huang Hui was covered in blood, a mouthful of blood spurted out, an arrow pierced through his calf, and a talisman exploded from his cheek, leaving half of his face bloody and embarrassed. Extremely. I have to say that the team's cooperation is really good, but unfortunately, their strength is too weak. If they are stronger, they may have the possibility of killing Huang Hui. Boom boom boom. It's a pity that they only had one chance to attack, and they failed to kill Huang Hui. Those Long family disciples and other mercenaries all reacted and rushed to them frantically, forcing them to keep going backwards. Brother Long Qin, run away. Fong Liuda knew that he would definitely die today, and when he saw Long Qin behind them, he immediately shouted loudly. Die! Fong Liuda had just finished shouting when suddenly a roar shook the sky in front of him, a long-handled broadsword slashed down at him. Fong Liuda swung his axe to block, but the double axe was shattered, and the man flew out backwards. The difference in strength between the two is huge, and the difference in weapons is even worse. Fong Liuda was shocked and spurted blood and fell to the ground. Seeing this, the others came to rescue them madly, but there were too many people around, and the disciples of the Long family were too powerful, and they were all blocked. 6 brothers, seeing that Huang Hui slashed towards Fong Liuda, who had no power to fight back, everyone was stunned. Snapped, just when Fong Liuda closed his eyes and waited to die, a figure appeared in front of him, and a big hand grabbed Huang Hui's long-handled broadsword. Long Qin. When they saw that person clearly, Yuang and the others were all stunned, including the others. At this time, Long Qin held the broadsword in one hand, his long hair fluttered, his black robe floated, and his eyes looked at Huang Hui, who was horrified. For a time, everyone was frightened. There was someone who could catch Huang Hui's full-strength sword with his bare hands, and he didn't seem to have any response except for the slight movement of his hair. The roar of the sword stopped abruptly. Fong Liuda and others opened their mouths wide. They couldn't believe that this little white face who looked soft and weak like a scholar turned out to be a super strong. The most important thing was that Long Qin didn't have the slightest aura from beginning to end. For a while, the audience was dead silent. Huang Hui was shocked and angry. He tried his best to retake it, but the broadsword did not move at all. He shouted angrily, "Who are you?" Long Qin was silent for a while, and finally held back the mantra, although this Huang Hui looked like a dog. "I ask you, who is the Emperor of War in their mouths?" Chapter 49-47, Who are you? Huang Hui roared. Click! Suddenly Huang Hui's broadsword was broken. A cold light flashed. Huang Hui's arm rose into the sky, blood splashed. Long Qin's speed was too fast, no one could see his movements clearly. Broken sword had already pointed to his throat, and said coldly, "I don't like long-winded people. Answer my questions. If the answer is wrong, I'll cut your head off next time." Huang Hui was finally frightened, and his voice trembled. He, the Zhantian sage emperor in their mouths, is the newly promoted heavenly sage of the Long family, Long Zhantian, who ranks among the 4 great heavenly sages. A smile appeared on Long Qin's face, and as expected, the Emperor Zhantian is his father, and this title is so domineering. Oops! At this moment, Yuang suddenly screamed, and Long Qin couldn't help looking at her. Qi Hua is gone. Yuang's face was full of anxiety. The Qi Hua in his mouth was the guy with the sharp-nosed monkey cheeks. He didn't know when he ran away without a sound. He must have gone to report the news. Long Qin, let's go. At this time, Fong Liuda stood up and persuaded. He knew that Long Qin was powerful, but Qi Hua went to report the news, and he would definitely attract the strong of the Long family. You know you're scared now? Don't you let me go? Seeing the frightened expressions of Fong Liuda and the others, Huang Hui suddenly became fearless. Long Qin looked at Huang Hui with a strange smile on his face. He turned to look at Yuang and said, "Sister Yuang, Do you remember what I said to you? Seeing that Long Chen was still calling her sister Yuang affectionately, she was a little nervous and couldn't remember what he said. Long Chen smiled and said, I said that the strong have the strong and the wicked have their own grind. It's a matter of time before you hit a nail. If you hit the iron plate with bad luck, you will have to be reincarnated again. I don't believe that their luck is so good every time they are reincarnated. Yes, that's what you said. Yuang hurriedly said. Long Chen smiled and said, I am a person, I have no advantages, I just like to be helpful. My profession is to send others to reincarnation. No, the opportunity has come. There was a smile on Long Chen's face, but what he said was not funny at all, and Huang Hu's face changed. You dare to kill me? Long Chen was happy all of a sudden. What an idiot to say such a thing. Boom. At this moment, the void in the distance roared, and several golden chariots roared. Seeing this, Huang Hui knew that the rescuers were coming, and he immediately became fearless and laughed. Ha! Puff! Suddenly blood splattered. Huang Hu's head rose into the sky, the laughter was cut off, and the smile on the head also instantly solidified. Smiling really hard, Long Chen threw the broken sword on the ground with a look of disgust. At that moment, the scalps of the people around were numb, and Long Chen actually killed this person, and it was still in this situation. At this time, Feng Liuda made a gesture to everyone. After seeing the gesture, everyone in the entire team approached Long Chen. Long Chen smiled and said, Sixth brother, there is no need to be nervous, I can do it. Although he didn't know what Feng Lu's gesture was, Long Chen knew from the position they were standing that they were desperately trying to give themselves a chance to escape. After Long Chen finished speaking, he looked at Yuang and Song Guo and winked mischievously. Remember to keep it a secret for me. Yuang and Song Guo were stunned, not knowing what Long Chen meant, but Yuang was smarter and immediately understood that Long Chen was the scene that made her keep his tears secret. At first Yuang thought that Long Chen was a tough boy from the family, but he didn't expect that Long Chen's strength was so terrifying. Dare to kill my disciples of the Long family, aren't you afraid of being cramped and skinned and smashed to ashes? At this moment, a roar came, shaking the valley, and a group of people came down from those chariots. The first one, with his head tilted, his blood was soaring to the sky, and his killing intent was rolling. He was a 9-star destiny man. When they saw the appearance of the 9 stars destiny, Feng Liuda and others were relieved. The last glimmer of hope was shattered, and the pressure was not so great. Long Chen looked at the strong man with his head tilted. A trace of doubt flashed in his eyes. This guy seemed to be familiar. The tilted-headed strong man led dozens of Long family disciples into the valley with murderous aura. When he came to Long Chen, his body suddenly stiffened and his eyes almost bulged out. He opened his mouth wide, his tongue was knotted, and he shivered. Dragon. Long Chen. Seeing that the head-tilted powerhouse saw Long Chen, his body trembled with fright, his face was pale, and there were already fine beads of sweat on his forehead, and Feng Liuda and others were also stunned. That is the 9 stars destiny, and seeing Long Chen seems to have seen the king of hell, so frightened that people are going to collapse. The tilted head saw Long Chen, and he was instantly filled with regret. At this time he wanted to escape, but he didn't dare to escape because the distance was too close, and he couldn't escape. Senior brother Long Chen, you, all right? The head-tilted strong man forced a smile and said flatteringly, Why are you looking at me with a crooked face? Are you not convinced? Long Chen looked at this person with familiar eyes, but he couldn't remember where he had seen it for a while. No. The man was so frightened that he almost jumped up. He hurriedly said, I didn't tilt my head on purpose. I can't get my head right. You see, I originally had 2 heads. The man hurriedly opened his neck collar, and sure enough, there was a large scar on the edge of his neck. Long Chen saw the scar and suddenly realized. Do you remember? Last time in the 9 Heavens passage, the kid was bewitched by the guys from the Celestial clan. He was so stupid that he didn't recognize Mount Tai, and was smashed by you as a warning. It's been such a long time that I haven't had a chance to thank you. It's really rude. I'll make it up now and thank you for not killing me. The man actually bowed and thanked him. It turned out that this guy had shot Long Chen when he entered the Jiutian Pass, and Long Chen directly blew his head. The so-called mercy is all nonsense, mainly because there were too many people blocking Long Chen at that time, and Long Chen didn't have time to kill him. Feng Liuda and the others were so shocked that Long Chen had once smashed the head of the 9 Stars Destiny Man. No wonder this person was so afraid of Long Chen. For a time, they were like being in a dream. Such a terrifying person would actually appear beside them. But your temper doesn't seem to be much better than before. I seem to have heard someone say something like cramping, breaking bones and so on. Long Chen looked at this guy and frowned. The man was furious, turned his head to look behind him and cursed. Who said that? Who said that? Find it out for me and see if I don't blow his head off? The others looked at each other in dismay, and naturally did not dare to speak. Obviously, this guy still has a certain status here. Look, no one said this, maybe you heard it wrong. The man's expression changed. He knew that he had said something wrong, and hurriedly said, No, you must have heard it wrong. Someone must have said it. After I go back, I will investigate and slap his mouth. Long Chen nodded. Seeing Long Chen nodding, the man suddenly breathed a sigh of relief. This fate was saved. Long Chen looked into the distance, saw a fast rushing back, and said to the man, Go and bring back that errand runner. Chapter 49-48 The errand in Long Chen's mouth is exactly the guy named Qihua. This person doesn't look at his strength. He is very capable of steering the rudder when he sees the wind. However, this time, Long Chen was staring at him. As soon as this guy moved, Long Chen gave an order to that person. Long Chen's order, the man not only did not resist, but had a look of ecstasy. Without saying a word, the figure flickered and disappeared in place. Suddenly a strong wind whistled, and the man had appeared again, holding a man in his hand. It was Qihua. Boom! The man threw Qihua to the ground, tilted his head and said, Senior brother, no master, I have brought this guy back. You talk, as long as you give an order, I will give him cramps and skins now, and smash his bones into ashes. By the way, I remembered those words just now. He must have said. That person actually wanted to recognize Long Chen as the master, just like a little brother, and most importantly, he was still content, as if he had taken advantage of the sky. It's not me. Qihua shouted in fright. Snapped. As a result, as soon as he screamed, the man slapped his mouth to pieces, groaned in pain, and couldn't say anything. Dare to be stubborn? The man was furious, and finally caught a scapegoat. How could he be allowed to argue? Who dares to go? Long Chen suddenly snorted, and some people had already noticed that something was wrong and wanted to leave, but when Long Chen drank it, they were so scared that they didn't dare to move. These people who wanted to slip away were none other than the mercenaries who came with Qihua. As for the disciples of the Long family, they were stunned and didn't know if they should escape. Sixth brother, Yu Jie, tell me, how do you deal with these people? Their life and death are a matter of your words. Long Chen looked at Feng Liuda and the others. Feng Liuda and others are still in shock at this time, and they are not very good at words themselves, so they don't know what to do for a while. Before, Long Chen called them brother and sister, and they didn't feel anything, but now that Long Chen called him that again, they suddenly felt a mountain of pressure. It's up to you to deal with it. Everyone look at me, I look at you, everyone is very nervous, they dare not speak, and finally Yuang bravely stood up. After all, their living environment has caused them to not see such a big world. Usually, when they see ordinary Long family disciples, they must be respectful. Now the 9 stars of the inner sect are willing to recognize Long Chen as the master. Buzzing. Well, what's your name? Long Chen looked at the strong man with his head tilted. The villain Turtle 9, from the 2-headed mysterious turtle family. The tilted head hurriedly said. Well, the 2-headed tortoise was beaten into a single-headed tortoise. Long Chen watched this guy tilt his head and stalk his neck, speechless for a while. Dispose of this garbage. Long Chen said. Puff, Guizhou kicked Qihua to death without any hesitation. The few people who shot against our hunting team just now, Kill yourself. Long Chen said lightly. Don't want. The disciples who followed Huang Hui were so frightened that their expressions changed. Puff puff. However, without waiting for Long Chen to speak, Guizhou dodged one by one with a palm, and all those outer disciples were killed by Guizhou. Cut, I could have left a whole corpse, but I had to come with no bones. Guizhou snorted coldly. Long Chen was stunned for a moment, but he didn't think that this Guizhou was a little bold. Even though he was also a disciple of the Long family, he didn't hesitate to make a move. Guizhou shot to kill, and the expressions of the Long family disciples who followed Guizhou changed greatly. They didn't know the origin of the Long Chen in front of them. This Guizhou actually betrayed in an instant. If Long Chen wanted Guizhou to shoot at them, what should I do? They were so scared that their faces turned pale, and this disaster came too suddenly, right? Why is there no sign at all? It's too late to run now. Fortunately, Long Chen did not target them, but looked at the mercenaries. Long Chen sneered. Everyone lives at the bottom of the deserted world. In the face of the strong, you bow down and bow your head to the court. In the face of the same level, you are intrigued and framed. In the face of the strong, you are gentle sheep, and in the face of the weak, you are man-eating beasts, and even eating methods is more cruel and bloody. Those mercenaries looked at Long Chen with fear, and suddenly someone fell to the ground, and then all of them fell to the ground. Long Chen, why don't you? Yuang's eyes showed a hint of unbearable color, but she just opened her mouth, but she was pulled by Feng Lu, indicating that she should not speak. Since Long Chen has solved it, now she is begging for mercy. What happened? Long Chen shook his head and said, now you pity them, but when they were high above, they happily admired our struggle before death. Did they pity us? Yueying gritted her teeth and didn't speak. Thinking of the scene where they were all thinking about their death, her sympathy suddenly faded a lot. Long Chen looked at them and said, you don't have to put on a pitiful posture. As early as when I was a teenager, I had already thrown away my useless pity. My kindness will only be reserved for those who are kind, not you. Huang Hui said before that the hexagonal sea snake was marked by him. You all said you saw it, right? Since you like to talk nonsense with your eyes open so much, then your eyes are meaningless to you. Dig them out and throw them away. No! Some people wailed in pain. The eyes are different from other places. It can be repaired if the arms and thighs are cut off, but if the eyes are lost, it is difficult to grow back. If it is a genius-level powerhouse with a solid background, it can be repaired the day after tomorrow, but it requires a lot of medicinal herbs, and they simply don't have that much money. With their financial resources, if the eyes are gouged out, there will be no eyes. Although for practitioners, the eyes can be replaced by spiritual consciousness, but the ugly appearance will follow them for a lifetime. Puff! The screaming man was slapped to death by Guizhou, and Guizhou sneered, I really don't know what to do. You want people's lives. The price is just a pair of eyes. If it's me, none of you want to live. The mercenary was shot to death, and everyone looked at Guizhou's ferocious appearance, gritted his teeth, and the audience groaned in pain. Get out! Guizhou snorted coldly and told the group to get out of the way. He came to Long Chen and said, isn't this too cheap for them? This group of people will only hold grudges. They won't remember kindness. It's better to cut the grass and root. What are you doing? Looking at me like that? Could it be that I said too much? Seeing Long Chen looking at him, Guizhou felt a little nervous. Your IQ is all right. You can see it clearly. Why did you get fooled by the Celestial clan? Long Chen wondered. Guizhou was a little embarrassed for a while, scratched his head and said, didn't I think I was very good at that time? People always have to pay a price for their youth and frivolity. Suddenly, very suddenly, a tyrannical demonic energy came, and I saw two huge golden bulls pulling a huge chariot, roaring, and on the chariot, there was a huge word Wei written on it. Howei chariot. Guizhou looked at the chariot and was taken aback. Long Ziwei, the 10th strong man in the sky, is here. Chapter 49. Boom. Those two golden bulls with their horns soaring into the sky are like two mountains, their hooves are stepping on the void, and the whole world is shaking. The two golden bulls turned out to be Earth Saint-level monsters. They were golden all over and looked extremely steed. They were pulling a huge chariot and looked so arrogant and domineering. It turned out that becoming a disciple of the Long family, even if it is only an outer disciple, can also receive the unique chariot of the Long family. It's just that although the chariots are of the same style, they can distinguish a person's status in terms of size. The chariots of the outer disciples are 10 feet and 8 feet long, similar to a small sedan chair, and their runes are relatively simple. The inner disciple's chariot is several times larger, with more patterns on it, and at the same time, there are many more decorations in terms of details, which looks very comfortable. The chariot in front of him was like a high mountain, splendid and aggressive, giving people an extremely luxurious extravagance. Especially on the chariot, the huge Wei character is even more arrogant and domineering, giving people a kind of rampant wanton. The chariot went straight to Long Chen and others, but it just flew over their heads and didn't stop. Two golden bulls rushed through the void, and the huge roar was deafening. Everyone looked at the royal chariot with awe and envy, and even Guizhou's eyes were filled with envy and jealousy. The existence of the top 10 in the Long family heaven ranking. Unexpectedly, we are fortunate enough to see his chariot. Fong Lud said with emotion. In their eyes, that is the real pride of heaven, and he will never have any intersection with them in his life. He doesn't even know what he looks like. Seeing his chariot is a great satisfaction. How many people are there in the Long family heaven list? How strong are they? Long Chen asked. Guizhou replied. The dragon's arrogance is divided into 3 lists of heaven, earth, and people. The heaven list is 500, the earth list is 500, and the human list is 500. Which list are you on? Long Chen asked. Guizhou said a little ashamedly, I'm on the local list, ranking 16th. Guizhou was a little embarrassed to say, but Fong Lud and the others were taken aback. It turned out that Guizhou was a master on the Earth ranking list, and his ranking was so high. They know that the entry level of the Dragon family's 3 rankings of Heaven, Earth, and People must be 9-star destiny. Without that strength, they are not even qualified to compete for the list. 8-star destiny like Huang Hui is not even worthy to give shoes to the strong, so he is often bullied, and then he spreads his resentment on the weaker. Long Chen nodded slightly. The current strength of this Guizhou is much stronger than when he was beaten in the head. Obviously, in the Long family, he has gained a lot. With his strength, he can only stay on the land list, which means that the heritage of the Long family is indeed strong enough. You don't know, when I was beaten in the head by you, I was still not convinced. Later, I saw you in front of the Gate of 9 Heavens, killing the quartet, even beheading the Holy Land. I only knew that my life was to steal back. Later, the Emperor Zhantian appeared and waved his hand to suppress the heavenly saint powerhouse of the celestial clan, which made me completely understand how small I am. After hesitating again and again, I came to Tianhuanglong's house. After passing the assessment, I became an inner disciple. After I came here, I discovered that there are too many geniuses here, and I caught a lot of them. The most disappointing thing is that this group of geniuses is not to mention the high talent, and they practice very hard. They're like lunatics. If they don't see each other for a day, their strength will increase by a lot. He was defeated by me yesterday and took his place, and today he came back and beat me to death. My ranking on this land ranking has not moved for 2 months. Not only can I not rush up, but I am in danger of being pulled down at any time. Guizhou said with a bitter expression. Originally, Guizhou was in his own family and was also a top powerhouse, so he was arrogant. When the Celestial clan fooled around, he could not only make a name for himself, but also get a treasure, so he would follow others to kill Long Chen. After a series of setbacks, he came to Long's house, thinking that he would be able to reach the heavenly ranking, but he did not expect that he could only stay on the human ranking at the beginning, and it was still a very laborious support. Later, after being nurtured by the Long family, the strength has grown by leaps and bounds. The background of the Long family is extremely amazing. The entire Tianhuang belongs to the Long family. Countless years of inheritance are enough to frighten countless people to death. I used to be just a frog at the bottom of a well. If your head is born, can you rush into the heavenly ranking? Longchen asked. It is estimated that if my head regenerates, I should be able to rush into the top 3 of the Earth ranking, but I am not sure about the heaven ranking. There are too many perverted geniuses. Guizhou said helplessly. If his other head is born, his strength can be at least doubled, but even so, he has no confidence to rush into the heavenly list. This is a bit interesting. It seems that I underestimated the Long family before. Longchen touched his chin. If what Guizhou said was true, and he recovered his head, he would not be able to rush into the heavenly ranking, then the dragon's heavenly ranking had a very high gold content. There is no way, the level of the heavenly ranking is too high, because the top 50 of the heavenly ranking have the opportunity to be baptized into the divine pool of destiny. If you are lucky, you can awaken the ring of destiny. Once the ring of destiny is awakened, it is equal to its a half-destined son. Do you know the son of destiny? That is the strongest existence in this world. Long Ziwei, who just passed by, awakened the ring of destiny when he was baptized in the divine pool of destiny. Speaking of the destiny god pond, Guizhou was very excited. And what destiny divine pond? The son of destiny has never been heard of Fong Liuda and others, but seeing Guizhou so excited, they feel that they are too small. There is such a treasure in the Long family? This surprised Longchen. He could actually awaken the destiny divine ring and become half the son of destiny, which is a bit against the sky. Guizhou said, it's more than that. I heard that there is a more powerful pagoda, which was handed down from the chaos era. I don't know what kind of treasure it is, but I heard that it is even more terrifying. Sharp Longchen nodded. This is indeed very powerful. The treasures handed down from the chaotic era, this is incredible. Did you come back this time to compete for the list? Guizhou said excitedly. Longchen shook his head and said, I'm not interested in their family's things. I'm here this time to collect some rare local medicines. After I've collected them, I'll leave. Hearing what Longchen said, Guizhou was a little disappointed. He really wanted to know what level he could reach in the Long family with Longchen's strength, but Longchen was not interested, so he became disillusioned. Back then, when Longchen was in front of the gate of 9 heavens, fighting all the masters by himself, how domineering he was. Therefore, he was obviously beaten in the head by Longchen, but he didn't hate him, because when a strong person is so strong that one can only look up, it will only make people feel in awe. Boom! Just when Longchen was about to send them away and took Fong Liuda and others to collect medicine, the void exploded, and the 2 golden bulls pulled the Haowei chariot and came back. The moment it came back, a vast coercion enveloped the area in an instant. Fong Liuda and others were crushed to the ground in an instant, and even Guizhou was crushed pale and trembling all over, but there was excitement in his eyes. Longchen? Come and die. Inside the golden chariot, there was an arrogant scream, and the 2 golden bulls slammed straight into Longchen, and the posture seemed to smash Longchen into pieces. Chapter 49:50. Seeing the golden bull pulling the chariot like a mountain, roaring, the terrifying coercion was so overwhelming that Fong Liuda couldn't move at all, he could only watch himself being run over to death. The 2 golden bulls were of the earth saint level, and the chariot was a treasure of the heavenly holy soldier level. This huge impact was enough to raise this valley to the ground. You take them to a place to come out. Longchen said to Guizhou. When Guizhou heard Longchen's reply, he was so excited that he almost jumped out. With a big wave of his hand, water curtains appeared, wrapping Fong Liuda and others, and quickly escaped the shroud of terrifying coercion. When they were freed from the shroud of divine power, Fong Liuda and the others felt their whole body loose and almost fell to the ground. They appeared on the edge of the valley, where they once observed the hexagonal sea snake. Here, they could see the entire battlefield clearly, and this was the best place to watch the battle. The golden bull was roaring, the chariot was roaring, the faster it ran, the stronger its momentum, like a meteor collided. Fong Liuda and the others were nervous. This kind of power was beyond their understanding, and Longchen still did not release any breath. The wind blew his black hair flying, the black robe screeched, and the huge gold compared to the barbarian bull, Long Chen looks so weak. Great, great. Compared with the nervous Fong Lude and the others, Guizhou was extremely excited, changing his previous decadence and shouting excitedly. Aren't you going to help Long Chen? Yuang said angrily after seeing Guizhou, who was respectful to Long Chen before, but now he changed his face, thinking that this guy was gloating. Do you know who Long Chen is? Want me to help him? Guizhou opened his mouth wide and looked at Yuang in disbelief. He? Who's he? At this time, it was Yuang's turn to ask, and they also wanted to know who Long Chen was. Such a strong man is definitely not an unknown person. Although they have never met the people on the heavenly list, they have kept the names of the heavens chosen in their hearts, but they have never heard of the name Long Chen. He. Guizhou wanted to explain, but seeing the momentum of the golden chariot getting stronger and stronger, he hurriedly said, "Explain later, let's see the matchup of the real powerhouses first, and it will be a lifetime regret to miss any wonderful moment." Buzz, at this moment the speed of the golden bulls reached the limit, and the power was also stored to the extreme. Just as they rushed in front of Long Chen, the two golden bulls suddenly separated from left to right, and threw the golden chariot to Long Chen. In front of the golden chariot carries the power of destroying the sky and destroying the earth. This is an irresistible power, but Long Chen is still standing there quietly. Fong Leota and others have not dared to open their eyes. They are afraid of seeing the dragon. The tragic state of dust turning to dust. Boom, there was a loud bang, the earth trembled slightly, and the fissures that people imagined did not appear, nor did they see the astral wind tearing the sky. Sharp, Guizhou sucked in a breath of cold air. Fong Leota and the others followed the prestige, only to see Long Chen stretched forward with one hand, resisting the golden chariot like a mountain, and there was not even a crack under Long Chen's feet. Although Fong Leota and others have average strength, they also see that it is Long Chen who has endured all the power of the golden chariot and has not leaked it. Seeing this scene, their scalps went numb for a while. Such terrifying power was carried by the flesh, so how strong was his fleshly power? Long Chen exerted force with one hand, and the huge golden chariot was pushed away by a palm. Long Chen nodded and said, "Pride but not impetuous, bullying but not bullying, although strong but not bullying the weak. I never imagined that there are people like you in the Long family. Yes, just rush to this point, your life will be saved." Long Chen could see that his strike was the first to strike, but he did not immediately charge up, leaving time for Guizhou and others to escape. And his blow, which seems to be powerful, has reservations. Obviously, he didn't directly want to take Long Chen's life, so he rushed to these, but it made Long Chen a little impressed. Huh? Laughing wildly, a group of people came down from the golden chariot, a total of 7 people, 7 men and 6 women. An impressive impression. The man looks very white, wearing the clothes of the disciples of the Long family, but not a white robe, but a golden robe, inlaid with purple and gold corners, which is extremely luxurious. On his chest, 2 big characters, Tianshi, were embroidered with black silk thread. It turned out that the Tianbang is different from the earth ranking. The strong people on the Tianbang will have the word on their clothes, indicating their noble status. That number is his ranking. The top 10 powerhouses in the sky list have their own exclusive robes, and this robe is the eternal dream of many Long family disciples. Although the 6 women were also wearing Tianbang's costumes, the number of characters under the word Tian was a bit too many, 345, 463. One of them was 499. Literally, the 499 are on the edge of a cliff and may be squeezed out of the sky at any time. That man is none other than Long Ziwei, who is the 10th in the Dragon family heavenly ranking. He is a well-known powerhouse in the Long family, an idol worshipped by countless people, and the dream partner of countless women. Long Ziwei, surrounded by the 6 female disciples of the heavenly list, stepped off the golden chariot, and he laughed loudly. I originally took a few junior sisters to the depths of the Demon's Sea to hunt down a few heavenly saint-level sea demons, but I suddenly received news that a man named Long Chen had killed the Long family disciple. I rushed over immediately, for fear of being robbed by others. I thought at the time, this Long Chen, is it that Long Chen? Hee hee, I can't think of it, luck is so good, it seems that you are really him. Long Chen shook his head and said, is it lucky? It's too early to tell now. A woman looked at Long Chen in surprise and asked, are you really the son of the Holy Emperor? Before Long Chen could answer, another woman said, it looks a bit similar, but it's soft and weak, it doesn't look very strong, but it's quite attractive. Hey, you said that be careful brother Ziwei is jealous? Another woman teased. When they heard that Long Chen was the son of the Emperor Zhantian, and Feng Liuda and others were struck by lightning, they never imagined that the son of the Emperor Zhantian would be met by them. Damn, his appearance is 7 points similar to the Emperor Zhantian, why didn't I think of it? Feng Liuda slapped his thigh. It's no wonder that looking at him, I feel both familiar and cordial. It turns out that he is the son of the Emperor Zhantian. Yueying said blankly. Just as those women were laughing, Long Ziwei had already walked towards Long Chen step by step, and at that moment, the whole world was quiet. Long Ziwei's face was gloomy and authentic. Stop talking nonsense, since I have confirmed my identity, then I am welcome. Today, I will kill you. Chapter 49:51 Long Ziwei looked cold, as if he had some deep hatred with Long Chen, and walked towards Long Chen step by step. He said coldly, my God respects the cultivation base of Jizangshan, your cultivation base of the 3rd stage. I will not bully you, I will suppress my cultivation base in the 3rd stage and fight you, not only the competition, but also the life and death. Why? Long Chen asked. Because they said that you are stronger than me, I don't believe it. Long Ziwei said coldly. Who are they in your mouth? Long Chen asked. Naturally, it's the annoying old guys. When they came back, they said that I'm not your opponent, and I'm not convinced. I practiced hard, and within a few days, I comprehended the ancient secret technique, Heavenly Dragon Strike. They said that I was not your opponent. I fought to the death, entered the depths of the Devil's Sea, beheaded the 9-winged dragon, swallowed his inner elixir, and awakened the 9-winged fighting heaven. They said that I am not your opponent. Now, after I have been baptized in the divine pool of destiny and awakened the ring of destiny, those old men still say that I am not your opponent. Is there any reason for this? You are here today, and I will show this group of blind old guys who are immersed in the glory of the past all day long. You are not my opponent at all. Long Ziwei's voice went from cold drinking to roaring, from roaring to roaring, and after that, his voice was hoarse and excited. Long Chen didn't expect that he had an extra enemy inexplicably. Is this the Long family deliberately using himself to stimulate them? The only one who has seen his strength is Lord Tianxi. Could it be that Lao Puding referred to by Long Ziwei is referring to him? Be enlightened, today I'm going to beat you to the ground, and I, Long Ziwei, are the strongest. Long Ziwei roared, his blood was surging, and the violent pressure spread in an instant. If you are the strongest, why don't you go to the top of the list? Long Chen asked curiously. As a result, Long Chen's words instantly turned Long Ziwei into stone, and the fighting spirit and anger that had just ignited were poured into a large basin of cold water. The air froze for a while, and a group of crows flew silently through the air, and the space seemed to stand still. What I'm talking about is between us, what are you doing with others? I must defeat you today. Long Ziwei said angrily. Long Chen said lightly, that's okay, I'll admit defeat. Long Ziwei roared, no, I must defeat you in an upright manner. You must go all out and show the courage to fight between life and death. Either you die or I forget the courage. Long Chen helplessly spread his hands and said, the key is that you can't win. Long Ziwei almost vomited blood from anger, roared, stepped out, punched Long Chen with a punch, and covered all the positions of Long Chen's avoidance with one punch, forcing Long Chen to fight recklessly. Snapped, Long Chen waved his palm to resist. With a loud bang, the wind whistled. Long Chen did not move at all, but Long Ziwei was shocked to take a few steps back. The women in the Tianbang were shocked. They knew that Long Ziwei seemed to be afraid of killing Long Chen with one punch and did not enter the fighting state, but the power of this punch was equally astonishing. If it was them, they would definitely resist with all their strength. With a casual blow, Long Chen knocked Long Ziwei back, and he didn't even have a crack under his feet, which means that Long Ziwei's power he has endured all by himself, and nothing leaked out. Okay, since that's the case, then I'm relieved. Long Ziwei was shaken back, but instead became more and more excited. With a sigh, runes circulated all over his body, violent air waves, thinking that he was the core and rushing frantically in all directions. So scary atmosphere, Fong Leota and the others exclaimed. The gust of wind blew through, making their cheeks cut like knives, and their eyes could not be opened, but Gui Jiao clenched his fists excitedly, and the strong duel he was looking forward to finally appeared. I am coming. Long Ziwei shouted excitedly. At this time, his fighting spirit was overwhelming, and he slammed his fist at Long Chen. Boom boom boom. Long Ziwei punched 7 times in a row, and Long Chen blocked 7 times in a row. As a result, Long Ziwei was knocked back 7 times in a row. After the wind passed, the dust fell, and the figures of Long Chen and Long Wei appeared in front of everyone again. Long Chen still looks like that, without any aura fluctuations. Long Ziwei's face has changed, he has begun to enter the fighting state, but he has not even touched the bottom of Long Chen. I'm going to use my real skills next. Long Ziwei shouted coldly. He moved his left foot back, the runes on his fists danced, and the 5-color divine brilliance circulated on his fist. When Long Chen saw the 5-color divine brilliance, he was slightly taken aback. 5-color bloodline? Long Ziwei said, yes, this is the 5-colored supreme blood of the Long family, which represents the 5 laws of power. Are you ready to meet it? Long Chen asked, shouldn't it be the 7 colors supreme blood? Long Ziwei roared, what nonsense are you talking about? In the entire Long family, except for the perverts of Zhantian Xinghuang and Long Tianrui, who has the colorful supreme blood. But halfway through the roar, he suddenly looked at Long Chen. How much blood are you? Long Chen smiled slightly. Guess what? Guess what? I'll hit you until you show your supreme blood. Long Ziwei shouted angrily. A punch came in the air, and this punch, the 5-colored divine light trembled, like the fall of the hammer of the gods. After continuous testing, Long Ziwei had no reservations. Boom! In the face of Long Ziwei's punch, Long Chen still slapped it with a palm, and with a loud bang, Long Ziwei groaned, and was shocked and flew out again. I do not believe. Long Ziwei was furious, and suddenly his breath suddenly soared. He broke away from the restraint on him, no longer suppressed his cultivation, and punched again. The power doubled compared to before. Boom! Another explosion sounded. This time Long Ziwei was so shocked that his blood surged, and he almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Long Chen is like a mountain, a sea of stars, and he can't shake it at all. The most terrifying thing is that Long Chen has not yet entered a fighting state. Are you looking down on me? Long Ziwei roared. At this time, he couldn't care about so much anymore. His hands formed seals. Suddenly, a huge dragon appeared behind him. He opened his hands. Dragon strike, Long Ziwei roared. At this time, he was really angry. Long Chen's attitude seemed to be playing with children. Long Ziwei finally used his supernatural powers, and as soon as he made a move, it was the undisclosed secret of the Long family, the amazingly lethal Tianlong strike. This blow extracts and compresses the energy between heaven and earth through the dragon-shaped phantom, and gathers it in the palm of the hand. This is the real killer move. Facing Long Ziwei's palm, Long Chen still faced the enemy with one hand, but this time, a dragon-shaped pattern also appeared in Long Chen's palm. Boom! With their palms facing each other, the sound of the dragon's roar echoed between the heavens and the earth. With a loud bang, a figure flew out like a meteor. Chapter 4952. What? The horrified expression on Gui Jiao's face. Everything happened so fast, Fong Leota and others didn't even know what happened. But Gui Jiao could see it clearly. Except for the palm of Long Chen, there was a dragon-shaped rune, and the breath remained unchanged. However, it is this palm that will make Long Ziwei, who has performed a blow from Tianlong, fly away. So far, Long Chen has not shown his true power. You made me angry. Don't blame me if you die. Long Ziwei was shocked, and his anger rose to the sky. He roared, his hands were sealed, and 8 wings appeared behind his back. At the same time, on his back, a wing like a fish fin appeared. The 9 wings burn, the dragon fights against the sky. Long Ziwei stopped drinking, and the flames of his 9 wings flickered. His blood was soaring to the sky, and he could faintly hear the roar of the demon dragon. At that moment, he seemed to be possessed by a magic dragon. Above his 10 fingers, his nails grew like sharp blades. He stepped on the void and waved his claws. Chi-chi! The sharp claws cut through the void and made a harsh sonic boom. Fang Liuda and the others couldn't stand the sound, so they hurriedly covered their ears, feeling that their souls were about to be pulled out by the sound. Boom boom boom. Long Ziwei's claws broke through the air, as fast as lightning, and attacked Long Chen with 36 claws in one breath. The claws were sharp and powerful. However, after Long Chen took one hand, he waved the other hand, like playing the piano with one hand, and calmly blocked his 36 claws. Boom! In the last blow, the two made a reckless move. Long Ziwei staggered backwards for a while, and was finally forced back. Brother Ziwei. At this time, the women on the heavenly list were so shocked that their faces turned pale. They could not have imagined that such a powerful Long Ziwei would suffer continuous losses in front of Long Chen. Forget it, you are not my opponent. Long Chen advised. I don't agree, Long Ziwei shouted angrily, and suddenly a divine ring appeared behind him. When the divine ring came out, whether it was the girls in the heavenly list or Guizhou, they all felt their bodies were hollowed out in an instant. At that moment, they seemed to have lost their destiny. The support of the power has become immortal. On the contrary, Fang Liuda and others did not feel so strongly, because their own strength is weak, and there is not much power that can be extracted. The Ring of Destiny, this is Long Ziwei's strongest state. Guizhou looked at the halo behind Long Ziwei, his eyes full of desire and worship. I admit that you are very strong, but I am not convinced. Now I am going to attack with all my strength. As Long Ziwei waved his hand, holding the long-handled sword behind him, countless divine patterns on the long sword lit up, and the pressure of the heavenly holy soldier was instantly ignited. At that moment, Fang Liuda and the others were dizzy, almost fainted by the breath. Long Ziwei pointed at Long Chen with the sword in his hand, and his fighting spirit was monstrous. Try to pick me up again? Well, if I can catch your knife, will you give up this boring challenge? Long Chen said. Whether it was Long Ziwei hitting him with a car before, or his later shot, from the details, this person is not bad, just as he said, he is just not convinced. Although in the previous challenge, the tone was arrogant, it was accepting life, and it was life and death. In fact, it was to force out the full strength of Long Chen so as not to be defeated. Long Chen doesn't like this kind of boring competition, it's meaningless at all. If Long Ziwei is Huang Hu's character, Long Chen will not be used to him. Take my knife first and then talk about it. Long Ziwei roared, he held the knife in both hands, the ring of destiny behind his back vibrated, and the power of destiny between heaven and earth was sucked by the long knife in an instant. Coming, Long Ziwei roared and slashed down with one knife. This knife injected all of his destiny's power into it, the long knife trembled, and the runes of the heavenly sacred armament were all activated. In the face of Long Ziwei's full-strength knife, Long Chen's face gradually became serious, and he stretched out his big hand. Snapped, the dragon bone evil moon appeared in his hands. As soon as the dragon bone evil moon appeared, the evil spirit rose to the sky. Even the women on the heavenly list were rushed backwards by the evil spirit of the dragon bone evil moon. At this time, the dragon dust evil moon is no longer the keel evil moon of the past. In the battle of Tianmu Mountain, it absorbed the blood and soul of so many heavenly saints. It is gradually taking control of this body and is releasing its origin little by little. Power. When he saw the keel evil moon, Guizhou shouted excitedly. At first, Long Chen was one person and one knife. In front of the Jiutian Pass, he killed the heroes and bowed their heads. Now that scene has reappeared. Long Ziwei roared, the sword roared and fell, Long Chen snorted coldly, and the Keel evil moon was placed in the air, quietly waiting for the long sword to fall. Boom! With a loud bang, the entire valley burst open, and the turbulent air waves rolled out, flying sand and rocks, submerging everything around them. Even the few girls in the sky couldn't stay in the air and were directly blown away by the astral wind. Fong Leota and the others felt that their bodies would be torn apart, and when they thought they were about to die, the pressure was suddenly reduced. It turned out that Guizhou stood in front of them and resisted most of the impact for them. The dust submerged the mountains, the crust was deformed, and the original appearance could not be seen for a long time. A large number of gravel rushed into the sea of magic, causing a monstrous wave. Guizhou drilled out of the soil and rescued Fong Leota and others immediately. Long Chen asked him to protect everyone, but he did not dare to let them make mistakes. After finding that everyone was all right, Guizhou hurriedly looked at the battlefield. At this time, in the core area of the battlefield, the space was still distorted, and the cracks in the avenue were slowly recovering, so the two of them could not be seen for the time being. In the distance, the women on the list, covering their cherry lips with their hands, all looked nervously at the core area of the battlefield. Even they had never seen such a terrifying blow. Time passed little by little, two vague figures slowly emerged, the figures gradually became clear from vague, and then people heard a voice. Tick tick tick. Everyone's eyes became dull. They saw Long Ziwei holding a half-battle sword with a look of disbelief, and blood slowly dripped along his hilt. At this time, Long Ziwei's palm was already covered with cracks, and blood was overflowing from the wound, but he didn't seem to feel it at all, staring blankly at the sword in his hand. The heavenly holy soldier was destroyed? Guizhou swallowed a mouthful of water with difficulty, his voice trembling. When he looked at Long Chen's whole body was covered with blood-colored dragon scales, the blood-colored cloak behind him swayed with the wind, and a black big knife with a ferocious shape and an evil spirit was carried on his shoulders, quietly looking at Long Ziwei. At this time, Long Chen was like an undefeated god of war in a blood-colored armor. He looked at Long Ziwei. Is it all right this time? Long Ziwei roared. I'm still not convinced. I know that in this last blow, you only used the power of destiny and did not use supernatural powers, otherwise the power of this blow could at least be doubled. Tell me, how do you take it? Long Chen asked. Long Ziwei said angrily, unless you show your hand. However, after Long Ziwei's words, Long Chen slashed down with a knife, and the sharp sword chi made Long Ziwei's hair stand upright. He didn't expect Long Chen to cut it when he said it, and it was too late to avoid it. Hold the grass, this guy is so sinister. Long Ziwei roared in his heart, but it was too late. Chapter 4953, Buzz. A knife with Kai Tian will ruthlessly slashed, severing the confinement of time and space, and severing the eternal sky. At that moment, Long Ziwei had been suppressed by Kai Tian will and could not move. From the day Long Ziwei began to practice, he had never encountered such a terrifying will, which could completely suppress his body and soul, and imprison his mind. Boom! The long knife was like electricity, slashing down the celestial dome, slashing against Long Ziwei's cheek, and the earth was cut with a deep cut. Long Ziwei's long hair fluttered, and the gust of wind made his cheeks hurt. Long Chen's knife didn't really cut him, he deliberately cut him off. However, Long Chen's knife was too fast, and it was too late for people to react. If Long Chen really wanted to cut him, Long Ziwei would not even have a chance to block. How? Long Chen put the Keel Shiyue lazily on his shoulders, and said lightly to Long Ziwei, "That's it." At this time, Long Ziwei recovered from the shock and said lightly, "I admit, the speed is very fast, it is the fastest shot speed I have ever seen, but this power, to be honest, with the blessing of my ring of destiny, this knife won't kill me. You still, look back, look." At this time, the voices of the women came from a distance, their voices were still trembling, and there was still fear in their eyes. Hearing this, Long Ziwei turned his head to look behind him, and at that moment, his whole body was instantly stiff. After Long Chen's knife was extended, his power increased sharply, piercing the earth, and extending into the sea of magic. The most terrifying thing is that the sea water is divided into two, like two waterfalls convection, and there is no end in sight. Long Ziwei, the whole person is stupid. It is not surprising that a knife rips the earth apart, a knife slashes open the sea of magic, and there is no boundary of the impact of a knife. This is no longer measured by strength, but a kind of destruction of the law. The most terrifying thing is that the knife cut by Long Chen, the knife mark between him and Long Ziwei is very shallow, so Long Ziwei thinks that Long Chen's blow is only a superficial, in order to pursue speed, and unable to hold strength. But after the blade passed through Long Ziwei, he suddenly exerted his force, severing the earth and severing the sea of magic. This kind of freewheeling control was terrifying. This blow is terrifying, but even more terrifying is that it shows that it is not the limit of Long Chen, otherwise, it will not be so precise control. Feng Liuda and others did not understand such profound things, but they were completely frightened when they saw Long Chen slashing the sea of demons with a knife. This kind of power was challenging their imagination. Hey, how's it going? Isn't this trick handsome enough? In Long Chen's mind, the een smile of the keel evil moon hee sounded. Aren't you exaggerating? Long Chen complained a little. Long Chen just wanted to scare Long Ziwei, but he didn't expect to cut out with a knife, and even he was startled. He just activated the 6 forms in one, and still has some restraint, but he didn't expect that the dragon bone evil moon suddenly increased his power, and the power increased rapidly, which caused such a terrifying effect. Cut, what are you exaggerating? Do you think I'm still the same me? Did you kill so many heavenly saints last time for nothing? Now I can finally grasp a trace of the source power of this body, and I no longer have to rely on you for everything like before. How about it? Are you satisfied with this power? The dragon bone Shiyue smiled, and her voice was full of pride. How many times can you activate this level of power? Long Chen asked. It can be activated at least 10 times, of course. It can be launched all at once, but the power is uncontrollable. Keel Shiyue said. Long Chen was both surprised and delighted. Such power can erupt 10 times. If it is concentrated, it can even challenge the powerhouse with a Tianmai. Big brother, suddenly Long Ziwei threw the broken knife in his hand, and then in the shocked eyes of everyone he knelt down, spread his palms, and bowed to Long Chen. Big brother, please accept my younger brother's knee. From now on, I will be your pawn. I will go up and down the oil pan for you, go through fire and water, and die. Long Chen was overwhelmed by this sudden change. What is the situation? It's enough to admit defeat, but what is this for? Long Chen stared at him and said, What's your situation? You don't need to do this, right? Even the women on the list were stunned. Is this still the unruly Long Ziwei? Tanbang, bas. A knife with Kaitian will ruthlessly slashed, severing the confinement of time and space, and severing the eternal sky. At that moment, Long Ziwei had been suppressed by Kaitian will and could not move. From the day Long Ziwei began to practice, he had never encountered such a terrifying will, which could completely suppress his body and soul, and imprison his mind. Boom! The long knife was like electricity, slashing down the celestial dome, slashing against Long Ziwei's cheek, and the earth was cut with a deep cut. Long Ziwei's long hair fluttered, and the gust of wind made his cheeks hurt. Long Chen's knife didn't really cut him, he deliberately cut him off. However, Long Chen's knife was too fast, and it was too late for people to react. If Long Chen really wanted to cut him, Long Ziwei would not even have a chance to block. How? Long Chen put the keel Shiyue lazily on his shoulders, and said lightly to Long Ziwei, That's it. At this time, Long Ziwei recovered from the shock and said lightly, I admit, the speed is very fast, it is the fastest shot speed I have ever seen, but this power, to be honest, with the blessing of my ring of destiny, this knife won't kill me. You still, look back, look. At this time, the voices of the women came from a distance, their voices were still trembling, and there was still fear in their eyes. Hearing this, Long Ziwei turned his head to look behind him, and at that moment his whole body was instantly stiff. After Long Chen's knife was extended, his power increased sharply, piercing the earth, and extending into the sea of magic. The most terrifying thing is that the sea water is divided into two, like two waterfalls convection, and there is no end in sight. Long Ziwei, the whole person is stupid. It is not surprising that a knife rips the earth apart, a knife slashes open the sea of magic, and there is no boundary of the impact of a knife. This is no longer measured by strength, but a kind of destruction of the law. The most terrifying thing is that the knife cut by Long Chen, the knife mark between him and Long Ziwei is very shallow, so Long Ziwei thinks that Long Chen's blow is only a superficial, in order to pursue speed, and unable to hold strength. But after the blade passed through Long Ziwei, he suddenly exerted his force, severing the earth and severing the sea of magic. This kind of freewheeling control was terrifying. This blow is terrifying, but even more terrifying is that it shows that it is not the limit of Long Chen, otherwise, it will not be so precise control. Feng Liuda and others did not understand such profound things, but they were completely frightened when they saw Long Chen slashing the sea of demons with a knife. This kind of power was challenging their imagination. Hey, how's it going? Isn't this trick handsome enough? In Long Chen's mind, the Yin smile of the Keel evil moon he sounded. Aren't you exaggerating? Long Chen complained a little. Long Chen just wanted to scare Long Ziwei, but he didn't expect to cut out with a knife, and even he was startled. He just activated the 6 forms in one, and still has some restraint, but he didn't expect that the Dragon Bone Evil Moon suddenly increased his power, and the power increased rapidly, which caused such a terrifying effect. Cut, what are you exaggerating? Do you think him still the same me? Did you kill so many heavenly saints last time for nothing? Now I can finally grasp a trace of the source power of this body, and I no longer have to rely on you for everything like before. How about it? Are you satisfied with this power? The Dragon Bone Shiyue smiled, and her voice was full of pride. How many times can you activate this level of power? Long Chen asked. It can be activated at least 10 times, of course, it can be launched all at once, but the power is uncontrollable. Keel Shiyue said. Long Chen was both surprised and delighted. Such power can erupt 10 times. If it is concentrated, it can even challenge the powerhouse with a Tianmai. Big brother, suddenly Long Ziwei threw the broken knife in his hand, and then in the shocked eyes of everyone he knelt down, spread his palms, and bowed to Long Chen. Big brother, please accept my younger brother's knee. From now on I will be your pawn. I will go up and down the oil pan for you, go through fire and water, and die. Long Chen was overwhelmed by this sudden change. What is the situation? It's enough to admit defeat, but what is this for? Long Chen stared at him and said, What's your situation? You don't need to do this, right? Even the women on the list were stunned. Is this still the unruly Long Ziwei? The unparalleled arrogance of the world's 10th on the list actually kneels down and worships others, and is willing to be someone's younger brother? Is the world crazy? Brother, you are my eldest brother. To be honest, there are only 2 people in the entire Long family who can convince me. One is your father, the Emperor Zhantian. When he came to the Long family, he held a long sword and rushed in directly. That was a fierce one, and he forcibly entered the ranks of the 4 heavenly sages. The whole dragon family was furious, but they didn't dare to fight against the emperor. He was the first for countless years to make the whole dragon family dare not speak out. You don't know, I saw everything at that time, and the stars in my eyes were about to fly out, and the heart of worship, like the surging water, can fill the entire sea of demons. Long Ziwei knelt on the ground, and even said with gestures, the more he said, the more excited he said, a long sword, killing all the heroes. On the first day, Lord Xing wanted to fight with one, but was stopped by the ancestors. What does this mean? This shows that the Zhantian Holy Emperor has the same level of strength as the first Holy Emperor, and he is afraid that both sides will suffer. The first heavenly sage has not been shot for countless years, and the second heavenly vessel began to condense 3,000 years ago. Although I do not know if he succeeded, but even if it is not successful, the strength of a heavenly vessel is still the existence of a unique heavenly sage. Long Chen still doesn't know that his father, who has always been gentle and elegant, was so violent. the way to return to the Long family was to kill him. The position of the 4 heavenly saints was also violently grabbed. When I first saw that scene, I only knew what an unparalleled hero is and what a heroic spirit is. Therefore, I made an oath at the time that I must follow such a strong man. Unfortunately, the Emperor Zhangtian entered the ranks of the 4 heavenly saints, but he did not cultivate his own strength, and he did not want any rights, but changed the heavenly desolate territory. A rule of. He allowed the lowest-level mercenaries to enjoy certain freedom and rights, and after securing some benefits for them, he stayed in the Long family for a short time, and then suddenly disappeared. And when I heard that you came to Tianhuang, I came here as soon as possible, just to try to see if you were a fake. At the same time, they said that I am not as good as you, and I am not convinced. Of course, now I am convinced, completely convinced, Brother Longchen, please accept me. In Long Ziwei's words, when he mentioned Long Chen's father, his eyes were full of admiration. It can be seen that when Long Zhangtian killed the Long family, it brought him a great shock and completely changed his outlook on life. Get up first and tell me about the Long family. Seeing that Long Ziwei admired his father so much, Long Chen also let go of all his vigilance and let Long Ziwei speak up. Long Ziwei was overjoyed and immediately stepped forward to give Long Chen a detailed account of the situation of Long Zhangtian at that time. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.